Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small, insignificant law firm in central Minnesota. And with me today is my good friend, Mr. Doug TenNapel. How's it going,
And I'm
sir?
sitting at my small, insignificant art table.
Yeah. It's great what insignificant things can do these days.
Yeah, we've got a great megaphone in this free internet, this broadcasting tool that I could only dream of when I was a kid.
Yeah, I never thought anything like this was possible. In fact, I don't know if I ever told you this. I went to undergrad to be a writer, and I wanted to write movies. I wanted to write books, and I gave that up really quickly because I met the beautiful lady Rackets, and we decided we would stay in Minnesota. And it was like, well, I'm not going to be writing movies, TV shows, or anything like that from Minnesota.
It's true.
It's just not going to happen. You have to go to LA, or you have to go to New York, or maybe Austin. But it just wasn't going to happen here. But, lo and behold, now we're 16 years after that. And suddenly I have the ability to, entertain. And that's what writing was, right? It was just
You're a TV person, and now you're writing. You have to do your own material.
Well,
and speaking of, I talked to you a little bit about this offline. I've been talking to Vic Mignogna about this offline too, I'm getting ready to try to do a animated show with him, independently funded, and just throw it out on YouTube and see what happens. A goofy show where he does a voice. I have Michael J. Nelson signed up for a voice.
Nice.
I haven't hit up my buddy Rob Paulson yet, but if I could get that kind of a star cast in there, I've got all my animators lined up. I was just trying to wait to put my earth. I'm going, you have a TV network to make a show, guys. All of you can do this.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's easier to distribute on YouTube than anywhere else. You don't have the gatekeeping. You don't have to worry about what their distribution channel is. You don't have to worry about like subscription services like a Cartoon Network or something like that. You just have, here you go. And it's simply marketing at that point. And
the audience decides if they want more. The audience either shows up or you're done. You don't have to have an executive choose for you.
Right. Exactly.
I feel kind of okay about my own ability. I don't know. I'm not 100% confident, but I feel like I could give it a good shot.
Well, you've got a track record, so that's good. If I was making an animated show, it would be an absolute trash fire. Because I can't.
A lawyer? Because that'd be funny.
Well, but I can't draw anything.
That's even funnier. Your terrible
of course,
drawings?
I have watched, Cartoon Network lately, and I'm pretty sure they can't draw either.
I'd have that Chad Dad guy that does those drawings with the bulgy pants. I'd have him do all the animation. It'd be a scream, man. Be the best.
Yeah, but it's...
So you were on Killstream. Are we doing that?
Yeah, we could talk about that a little bit. It was, I was on the Killstream. I was debating a guy. I'm not actually, I love going on the Killstream. I'm not the biggest fan of going on the Killstream and debating someone. I find online debates to be a little bit less productive. Everybody tends to come in with their idea of what the answer is already. And so you're not really out there changing a lot of minds, which is weird because I used to like to debate on Facebook. I thought that was a little different. You weren't cultivating an audience that has a preconceived notion. You are just broadcasting, and then people are contributing to the conversation. And so there is actually some chance to kind of sway people there. But I don't really like doing the debate thing because of that. Plus, there's always the temptation to just scream at someone.
That's me too. I don't like it because I feel like when this is an ego when you're on, and as soon as someone starts debating me, I care more about how I look than the truth. And that's a terrible way to debate.
Yeah.
It used to be both guys had ugly ties at debate club. They were both nerds, so they weren't going to ever win the social game. So it was just about ideas. But on YouTube, it's protecting ground, and it's not You know, who's going to change their mind?
It's a weird thing, but I'm always thankful for Ralph for having me on the Killstream. Ralph had me on the Killstream really early on in my YouTube career when I just had like 2,500 subscribers, stuff like that. He had me on the show a long time ago, and I consider him a buddy. I know he's been through some ups and downs with his own suspensions and stuff like that. But so I did the show, debated a guy I've never met about the
Sean,
response. Yeah,
the sweating Sean, whatever.
Something like that.
He kind of came around to agree. You guys kind of came around to agree towards the end, but I didn't think he was just kind of spewing different ideas. I was trying to follow his thought. Can you give me a summary of your two basic positions?
Yeah, well, my position is, at the end of the day, whatever the government does in regards to this coronavirus, we have to ensure that our critical freedoms and rights are guaranteed, like one of them being due process. And I keep going back to this dude in Kentucky who was diagnosed, allegedly, the hospital said he tested positive for coronavirus. So then he left the hospital against medical advice, and hospitals can't force you to stay, typically speaking. So he left the hospital, and then they said, well, you have to self-isolate. And he allegedly refused to self-isolate. Now, I don't know what that actually means for what his refusal means. I don't know what he intended to do. I don't know if he intended to leave his house or to go somewhere, or if he had maybe a specific trip he was going to take. I don't know what it means. And that's part of the problem. And so the Kentucky governor, first of all, the county judge had to enact an emergency measure for the county to allow this to happen. And then the governor ordered an armed guard outside this guy's house 24/7. And to keep him inside. And people are saying, well, he's not locked up. He's not locked up. It's like, well, house arrest is a real thing. And he is confined. It would be if you did it. If you went to someone's house with a gun and said, you stay inside, that'd be false imprisonment, and you would be sued and probably arrested for it. So I didn't see anything about this guy getting a hearing or having an attorney appointed to argue on his behalf. His wife has alleged that they disagree with the diagnosis or said that he wasn't diagnosed. But more importantly, we don't know. There's no process by which we've determined these facts to be true. We just locked this guy up. And that's my initial red flag, is someone
and Sean said, yes, lock him up. Yes, do whatever, because he was terrified of the threat of coronavirus.
Right. And Sean appears to be okay with the idea that the government could lock all of us up in our homes.
Yeah.
And to me, that is foreign. That is beyond anything I would expect, especially from, I guess, right-leaning Americans. But there's a rise of a semi-authoritarian nationalism on the right, which is, I mean, it's part of the right spectrum. So it's not like that crazy.
When you're guys in charge, you're okay with a little more authority, maybe.
Yeah. And when I think back to when I was in college, I didn't ever expect an authoritarian right. I just didn't. And to see people who are like, no, yeah, I want the government to put a curfew in and shut everything down. I'm like, whoa, like, what if I want to go somewhere? What if I have to go somewhere? What if I need to go to the store to resupply? What if I need to go to a bank? What if I need to go? What if, actually, I guess worse, what if I just want to go get a damn haircut? And now I can't because the government says no. And that's, again, it's just antithetical to how I grew up and how I view the country. So,
is there a situation where you think it could happen? Like, are you saying after the due process it would be okay? Are you saying there's no due process?
I'm saying
that would be sufficient quickly.
I'm saying right now we don't have any due process, and that is really concerning to me. I do think, obviously there are times where government authority just needs to be followed. And usually we have established those processes through lots of case law, maybe decades of experience in dealing with them. Like if you're going to challenge a search, You don't challenge your search in the street with the cop, right? You're not like, no, officer, you can't search me. You can't search me. I'm going to grab your gun. No, that guy gets shot. But you do have you know that you're going to get to challenge that search later if something comes of it. Although lots of times you can challenge a search on the spot, you can at least say, I don't consent to the search. And if the cop wants to search you, he's going to do it, but then he's going to have to justify it. You're going to have the opportunity to argue with that. This guy in Kentucky is never going to have the opportunity to get out of his house. There's just no process for it at all. There's no mechanism for it. And we don't have anything really like this. The closest case we had is like Typhoid Mary in 1907. And thinking to the differences between 1907 and today, it's absolutely insane that is the only jurisprudence we have on this. And
should that guy call a lawyer and sue the state who's being
I think
held
they are.
under?
I think they are. He should raise what's called a 1983 claim. And that 1983 claim would be allegations of a Fifth and Sixth Amendment violation. Fifth Amendment right to due process, Sixth Amendment right to an attorney. And he hasn't had either of those given to him, yet he's had his liberty deprived. So does
he have to have financial damages to be able to make a case, or can it be?
Usually you want financial damages to make that case because you want the government to pay you enough. But if you prevail on that, you're probably going to win attorney's fees. You will win actual damages, whatever they are. They may be nominal. And the interesting thing is a lot of times there will be some sort of organization who would take up a high profile case like that on the contingency that, look, if you win, we get a big chunk of whatever fees you end up getting. So
they get paid.
Yeah, they're going to get paid. They'll defend him for free, they'll go on the offense for him for free. And we get to have an answer to this question like 5 years from now.
Nick, would there be a situation where, like you mentioned on the show, where Lincoln removed habeas corpus, right?
Yeah.
Would there be a level of coronavirus where, like, if it did go airborne, you walked up to someone and they melted on the spot, where the state could step in and hold people under house arrest without due process?
Yeah, I mean, the state just would do that, or they'd start shooting people in the street. Like they'd have to, right? And, but we're not there.
No,
we're not even close to there. We are currently at a bad month of gun crime. From the initial coronavirus stuff to now, we're at the equivalent of a bad month of gun crime. It's likely going to end up being worse. Obviously, this thing takes time to progress. How much worse, we don't know. But it's kind of crazy to think that we are running out to shutter everything at a bad case of gun crime. And I've seen some suggestions.
But just to clarify that, you're talking about the same death equivalent of a bad case of gun crime.
Death and injury, yeah. A bad month of gun crime. We're currently at 96 deaths. There's about 8,500 gun homicides, or I should say murders. Gun murders.
Almost all of them in Chicago.
Yeah, right. But I'm not including suicides. That adds like another 30,000 or something, which is a technique of the media to say that guns are worse than they are. But so we take gun homicides, about 8,500. So that's, 70 a month. So particularly bad month, we get an extra 25%. We're at 95 deaths in a month. And that's a bad thing, but that's literally what we're looking at right now. So do we shut down the economy over 75 deaths? And I know a lot of people are saying, well, but if we don't shut down the economy, a whole lot more people are definitely going to get sick and die. And it's just not something that we know. And we don't usually do something preventatively. Our government wasn't set up to deal with things that way. That's
no
part
one
of the
looks
freedom.
like they didn't do enough. And this is when liberty's in jeopardy, right?
Yeah.
This is when the fear you just throw the law out because everyone's terrified.
Yeah. And that's the ultimate outcome is people are afraid. The government is afraid. I think the government is particularly afraid because the overwhelming majority of them are in the target age range for who are vulnerable to the virus, right?
Oh, really? I thought it was because it was an election year.
Well, that's another part of it that makes me distrust the ability for this thing to be honestly resolved, is if one party or the other party determines that carrying this into November is good, then we get it carried into November, whether or not it's necessary. And that's scary to me.
And how long do you think it'll take for us to recover from the economic shock that's coming? Because it's gonna be bad.
I don't know. And really, recovering as a country will be a different thing. I mean, it's going to be, I guess, large cap investments right now are probably a good move because big companies are going to weather this stuff a lot easier than small businesses. So whether or not we recover as an economy, how is the guy who does the printing and owns the UPS shop in your town going to recover? That's a different question. Like individual franchisees who are shut down, who are just small business owners in towns, those people, it'll be much longer for them to recover from the disaster. And their employees who have to be.
Who's financially responsible for a business that just opened up, say, a restaurant last week? It's forced to shut down and they lose their $150,000 investment in opening it up.
Don't know.
Do they have a case against the government or media?
They could try a Fifth Amendment takings. They're not going to get a media case. That won't work. But a Fifth Amendment taking, maybe, where the government has owed them compensation for what they lost by shutting them down and taking their ability to produce income. But the government's also going to say, yeah, we don't know if you would have made any money. I mean, plus they're going to have to, that's $100,000 case to go after the government for a taking. So
the problem is I could sound like an idiot if next month 2 million people are dead.
Yeah.
And then they'll sound like an idiot if in the next month they find out it was total exaggeration and complete hysteria. And then we lost all that money for nothing.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's a hard place to be because none of us know what's going to happen. What I know is that the principles that our country is built on are reactive. For better or worse, they're not proactive. The idea of a proactive police force that we are moving into is new. Our police force used to be reactionary. If someone got shot, the police showed up to arrest the guy. They weren't out there trying to prevent people from getting shot. It's just not how things operated back in the day. And maybe this is the better way. Maybe it's not. It's not for me to decide. But it is for us to kind of figure out as a society. I know the meme, we live in a society, but it is for us to kind of collectively figure out and decide what we want. And so that's going to be an election issue, I suppose, for the next couple cycles. Do the ends
justify the means of what they're doing today?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do any ends justify this if they save 2 million lives?
It depends. If it stops at what it is right now, yeah. But do they save 2 million lives? We'll never know, right? This would have been worse. And no matter what happens, the government will say this would have been worse, but for our response to it.
We saved you.
Yeah, because they always do that. The recession would have been worse. Remember, the recession would have been worse if Obama hadn't done all of the stuff. The recovery would have taken longer. It's like, how can we even possibly say that?
I do believe that, but I admit confirmation bias.
For everybody saying that I need to stay home and not get them sick, I'm going to come and cough in your mouth. You're going to like it. You're going to like it. But
what precautions is the Rekieta household taking?
I mean, it's pretty basic. We homeschool, and all of our kids do attend significant amounts of activities outside the home, and all those shut down. So those are done. We kind of hang around the house. I mean, I went to the store today. I didn't lick anybody. I didn't wait for them to mist the air with a sneeze and then bathe in it or anything like that. So, I mean, I guess I could die from...
But you went to a store, and that alone, everyone could be carrying and be asymptomatic.
Yeah, so
You and I could have it right now.
But the reality is that there's some things that I needed to purchase, and so I went and bought them.
Like a gun.
Well, you buy enough food for a couple weeks, and then the government starts acting like they might shut us down for longer than a couple weeks. And I don't know when that starts. So I go to the store and buy a little bit more food. And I might have to go to the store tomorrow and buy more food. I don't know. And I certainly don't want the government telling me when my preparation has to stop. And that's the other weird thing that gets conflated in this argument. It's like, well, if the government doesn't tell, or if you don't agree with the government telling you to be careful, then you don't care and you won't be careful. It's like, well, no. We tend to stay away from people as a rule, have for a long time. And we're certainly cut back on our activity. I mean, I was going to go to LA, but that's not going to happen.
For the Dick Masterson.
Yeah. For the 200th episode. I'm really, really bummed about it. But
he invited me to that. And I said, because I would be in production. There's no way I could go, but
yeah,
I wanted to go to that. Be good.
It would have been fun. But
I still think you should do it virtually and sell tickets. I think you should offer him refunds for the live event and then do, just to make up for the loss he may have, like do a virtual event online. And
yeah, I think there's something magical about the road rage in general. And it's the before party and the after party and getting to hang around with all these people you know from the internet. Yeah. And there's just something great about that. So I just assume he's going to postpone it. And have a great killer road rage show.
Yeah, I was on his show day before yesterday. He's one of my favorite guys in the world. Just a great, solid guy.
I was really on right before you.
Yeah, and I met you through him, so we have him to thank.
Exactly. We have him getting sued by Maddox to thank.
That's right.
But it's so the precautions we take. We have a sufficient amount of food, I believe. We have plenty of toilet paper. We have stuff that will work if toilet paper is gone. And that's about all we need, really. We have plenty of activities for our kids to do. You go a little stir crazy not having the stuff that you normally do, but
but you still live in a vault. I mean, you're there in the vault.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my ultimate response is to lock my family outside of the vault, and I will weather the storm in here with you guys. That's the real answer.
I pretty much already lived a life in quarantine before this whole thing happened. So it's not a big change for me. I come here to my office and I draw.
Yeah. But it's interesting. And again, I think that there are measures that the government will take that are reasonable. And right now they're not doing a ton that's unreasonable. I mean, it's easy to say that if you're not the business owner whose catering business just got shut down because, oh, no, your delivery food is still available. Yeah, but the events that you cater are all closed.
Yeah, we both know lots of people in small businesses that are just getting crushed.
Absolutely.
Or need the money, or, the landlord's going to ask for rent and you're not going to be able to pay it. And what government's going to help you out, Well,
apparently our national government is talking about sending everybody some level of money, every adult, which
I think is insane.
I would normally think it's insane, but if they're going to shut down businesses, they have to do it.
But are they going to pay you enough?
Well, no. No one can ever pay me enough. I'm greedy.
To weather the losses? It sounds so impossible. And to put the government in charge of that and decide who gets money and how much and who doesn't. They're going to send you $1,000 and that's enough? Are you kidding me?
Well, we don't know if it's 1,000. It could be more. I don't know.
Why don't they send everyone $1 million and make everyone a millionaire while they're at it?
Yeah, that's the problem, right? How much money are they planning on injecting into the economy? If you have 100 million adults in this country and you send all of them $1,000, that's a lot. That's $1 trillion.
It's fake money, Nick.
Yeah.
It's not worth anything if it doesn't pay for goods or services. They're paying you to stay at home. There's not a trade of services for money.
I'm well aware, but I will trade that money for services afterwards. Because, well, I mean, what else are you going to do? I don't know, but I do know that there are people, and I think you can identify with this. We're in somewhat of a gig economy, right? We are contractors of a sort, or we're 1099 or whatever. And there are a lot of people out there who their 1099 comes from their personal appearances at events. Again, it could be a caterer, it could be a musician, it could be a poet, It could be a speech writer, and all of these things get shut down. Suddenly those people are out of money. They're the ones who definitely need some sort of assistance. Then you've got lower middle class and middle class people who who are working on like the median income for their area, and some of them are not going to have wages through whatever lockdown there is. You got to compensate them. I mean, the government took away their ability to earn. Again, the Fifth Amendment, no taking without just compensation.
Every school is shut down.
Yeah.
They're going to pay every teacher, administrator.
Well, in our state,
United States.
Let me tell you how our state works. This is kind of interesting. The bus drivers will still be running their bus routes twice a day, delivering school lunches and school breakfasts to the students.
Wow.
So they will have designated their drop off and pickup points, so the kids can go to where they would catch the bus twice a day and get a meal handed to them by the bus driver. And then the school staff will be offering childcare to the children of like healthcare and other essential workers who won't be removed.
I like that a little bit, but if the bus driver has coronavirus, that's going to be quite a meal they're going to deliver.
I know it's going to be weird, right? Or what if, a teacher or something gets it, then they spread it to all the kids in the childcare, then all the healthcare workers get sick. Like, what do we do? It'll be interesting to see how this works, because the healthcare workers at the hospital take lots of sanitization precautions. They'll be wearing protective gear of some sort. It's not perfect, but they're trying to maintain a clean environment. Your kid going to a school, you have no guarantee that person's not going to sneeze somewhere near that kid's soda or something. And then suddenly that healthcare worker who took all the right precautions at home or at work comes home, gets coronavirus from their kid, and then takes it back to the hospital. There's issues with that too.
We're on quarantine. Our kids are staying home from school. And my son, you'll be proud to know, just got his first Warhammer book.
Attaboy. Which one?
I don't remember which one. It was something from the mid 2000s. It's a basic. It has a player's guide or a leader's guide or whatever it is.
Oh, so he got the tabletop book.
The tabletop book.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
Has maps in it and stuff. And he said, "Dad, this is really dark." He's used to D&D.
Yeah. It's
he said the whole economy is war. You kind of like that.
Yep. It is. There's only war. I've been getting into the D&D lore more lately, and playing a little D&D with Inver and some other people, and then just kind of enjoying that. And so then I've been watching some D&D lore videos, and the D&D lore that goes beyond just your player characters is really cool.
Yeah, my son has all those books. He's got 20 hardbound D&D books. We play all the time.
Yeah,
he's good.
we just
got the Star Wars edition from the mid 2000s. He's setting up a game we're gonna do.
Oh, have fun!
I'm gonna play a Mandalorian. So.
Let me read a couple of the chats here.
Go.
And and then we'll get into some stuff. RZEQDW says, some coworkers are convinced my illness over the past 2 weeks was Corona-chan. Not sure how I feel about this. I actually had another guy in my Discord today talking about how the people at his work accused him of being sick, and he's not even sick. And then his boss demanded that he produce a doctor's note verifying that he wasn't sick before he could come back to work. Well, you can't even get like a corona test for most people. It's really difficult to do. And his doctor isn't going to have, oh, come in here, we'll tell you you're not sick. No, they'll say stay home. So this guy, poor sap, some rumors have caused him to be removed from business. And what's he supposed to do about that?
He got Wuhan shamed.
Yeah. His boss made an absolutely unreasonable request. Prove to me you aren't sick with a doctor's note that you can't get. No.
Oh, what do you got there?
This is Middleton, very rare Irish Reserve whiskey.
Wow, look at that.
This is, well, you can tell this box is solid wood with magnets and stuff. You can tell
that's fancy.
This is good. This is like I think it's like an 18-year aged whiskey. It doesn't say on here, but it was bottled in 2018, but I think it was aged 18 years prior. So this is a good one.
I'm doing this Davidson Reserve, a small batch whiskey is what we're doing tonight.
Ooh, is that so? That's a bourbon.
Yeah.
You know, Ty Beard thinks Jack Daniels is a bourbon.
Yeah.
That's shameful.
Well, it's a go-to though. It is if you're going to do a well drink, then Jack Daniels is the one you want. The other ones are trash. You don't do Crown Royale or Canadian Mist. Jack Daniels is American.
Yeah, if you're gonna drink bad whiskey, drink Jack Daniels. I think that's a good life lesson. Crown is pretty bad.
Crown's bad.
Crown Black is okay.
It is. If you go up a few notches, it gets good. But
right,
the stuff they give you is it's cologne.
Red Philosophy says, Nick, sending this your way as you deserve it after that Killstream. Get yourselves. Oh wait, I forgot to read the rest of this thing. He said, illness over the past 2 weeks was Corona Chan. Not sure how I feel about this. Also, did you hear that Trump is writing a book? It's called The Art of the New Deal. Okay, that's a good joke.
That's very good.
All right, Red Philosophy says, Nick, sending this your way as you deserve it after that Killstream. Get yourself some nice whiskey and don't let the government take it away. Appreciate that you are one of the cooler heads these days. Too much panic at the moment. Yeah, well, that's my nihilism just getting to rub off on you guys. So thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, did you hear the mayor of New Orleans has said that she has the authority to take away guns and liquor?
Which I thought was psycho.
Yeah, of course it's psycho. Guns and liquor don't prevent anybody from getting coronavirus.
And Sean on the Killstream with you said, of course you take away guns and liquor from people in New Orleans.
I don't like to bring this up.
Yeah.
I really don't. But he was talking about a certain demographic population in New Orleans.
Yeah.
That might be a little darker skinned than other people. So he was okay with the mayor of New Orleans taking guns and liquor away from them. Not realizing that the mayor of New Orleans is she black? Mayor of New Orleans. Latoya Cantrell is an African American woman. I think she's probably going to take away the guns from the white people too. If I had to just guess. If I just had to guess that she's not going to discriminate against black people in the way that he was inferring. So he was okay with that. He didn't seem to be as okay with the idea of taking it away from quote, the good old boys. But
honkies.
Yeah. And maybe he is okay with that. I don't know. I'm not okay with taking guns away from people. They're also a nightmare to get back when the government takes something from you. It's like, okay, the crisis is over. Now you law-abiding citizen get to sue the government to get your property back. Like, well, I don't want to.
The government will never take guns away. They can try. It will never happen.
I don't want to be the cop who has to go do it.
Ain't no way.
A Burly Knoll says, Nick, you whipped that guy like a puppy. You changed my mind. Oh, well, there's one out there. Thanks, brother. Cheers.
Well, you represented the Constitution. You represented the law well.
Thank you.
Someone's got to do it on the Killstream.
I'll give you $10 after the show for saying that. Phoenix Oram says, hey, Nick and Doug. Doug, what are your thoughts on the awful New Warriors comic that Marvel is pushing out this April? Stay healthy. Godspeed.
Yeah, I have a low view of culture and where we're at. I'm largely in despair and kind of given up and just said, of course it's that bad. Of course.
Yeah.
So, but you guys just shop with discrimination, back the kinds of stuff that you love. More important than ever. Here's
the question. So Marvel has partnered with Games Workshop to produce a Warhammer comic.
Cool.
It will likely have Dan Abnett as the author of it because Dan Abnett did this. This is not his first comic rodeo. You can see this, I assume. That's
a beautiful book.
Look at this guy. Oh, yeah.
I love it. Yeah. That's a beautiful book. Look at that.
This thing's great. Yeah, this is they have like
that's the exact size of BigFootBill too, by the way. The oversized 9x12.
Yeah.
That's an expensive book to make. Does that have silver gilding edges?
Yeah, silver gilding on the pages, and then silver on the embossing.
These guys are not screwing around, guys.
Debossing. There's debossing. There's no embossing here. There's just debossing and then silver on the textured cover for
That's
the
a beautiful book. Let me see the spine.
Here you go.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's a good one. This one's it's like a year or two old. But anyway, so Dan Abnett has done he's done comics before. He's also a writer for Iron Man and stuff, so I think that's how they make the partnership probably happen. But my question to you is there a philosophical problem with buying a product that you like from a company that you despise?
Zero problem.
Okay, I didn't think so either.
Buy what you want to repeat. So if that book fails at Marvel, it'll send them a message that these woke, terrible feminist books are what they ought to be making. Whereas if this book was a blockbuster, they might just be shaken out of their ignorance. And so I really believe in, because look, you and I are sitting on a platform on YouTube, a totally woke platform.
Right.
We use their services. We use Twitter. We use Google. We use Amazon. All of these platforms are woke, and you want to always cast your vote for the stuff that you love to be repeated.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like I don't care about most Marvel properties.
Yeah.
I don't buy any of their stuff. But if they come out with a Warhammer book because they partnered with a company that I do like, I'm gonna look at it, and if it's good, I'm probably gonna buy it.
I would even write a fan letter to the editor and say, thank you for doing this. This is what I've always wanted from Marvel.
Yeah.
Like that stuff, it really means something when you do that.
Yeah.
It sways things.
And personally, I think that's part of the voting with the dollar is making sure you do vote positively with the dollar when the company does good. Like you reward them and you punish them. It's both sides of that coin, in my opinion. But
yeah, you give it the most eloquent review you can online and tell all your friends to buy it and have them buy it. And then that is a powerful statement to start swaying things. They may ignore it, but they're going to have to ignore it with all the reason and logic sitting right in front of them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Architect of Fate. I don't know anything about the new Warriors comic, by the way. I don't care what Marvel does. I might care about the Games Workshop Space Marine comics. Might, if they're good. If they're not good and they're not coming out in a giant special edition, I'm not gonna buy them at all.
No.
Architect of Fate says, roommate got tested. I'm on voluntary lockdown for the next 7 days. Why only 7? Shouldn't it be 14? I never thought I would go out because of Corona Chan with a coof and a coom. Now come coof in my mouth, law daddy. Oh, I'll be right there, pal. Open up. Open up. Get some particulates in there. Will S says, hey, Doug, my younger brother is a freelance animator and a huge fan of Vic, and he would want to work on that project you mentioned. Would it be okay for him to email you?
Absolutely. DougT@TenNapel.com.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to him. We're having to do it. We're going to do it independently because I imagine I'm blackballed from every studio in the world by now. But I really see the future as independent. Just what's going on here with YouTube. I think it'd be a great adventure to do that in animation. I'm challenged by it.
Okay. So is this a 10-minute show, a 20-minute show, an hour show? Do you have any idea?
It's going to be 30 seconds to a minute with a pilot episode. I might be able to fund 3 of them myself. That's me putting my own money into it first.
Sure.
My goal would be to involve a few private investors who I know, a couple of loaded guys who could throw us just a few grand, and I'd give them a percentage of the IP.
Gotcha.
And then you put it out on YouTube, right? And maybe 1 to 3 episodes. If it gets no attention, fine, we did an experiment and it's done. If it blew up a little, I think we could make a case possibly to take it to Netflix or even crowdfund it if we wanted to keep it independent and say, hey guys, you want another 1-minute episode, and this is how much it costs and this is how many we would fund. I'm not going to try to make money on it at all. It's just to get the animators paid and get the voice actors paid a little something.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I think that's how you start. And then if it becomes something that people want to buy and invest in and make their own in some way, then that's what they do. We have that cool luxury now where we
I just
can.
believe the audience doesn't lie, and it's my job to write it as funny as possible. If it's not as funny as possible and it doesn't just drum up big attention, then I deserve to have it, just die on the spot. If it blows up, then you did something right and you guessed right.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. And plus now you can do a 1-minute show with a cost of entry, or for the cost of entry, instead of having to have a 20-minute pilot. What kind of time does it take to produce a 1-minute animated short?
We would do a very basic animation style. So instead of doing like 24 frames per second or 12 frames per second, it might be 8 frames per second, probably more like traditional anime. Even though the style is very unique, it's much more its own bizarre thing.
Anime is 8 frames a second?
It goes down to 4 frames a second sometimes. So because, some of the characters are standing there and just the hair, you'll see it kind of, it's almost like strobing or notching. And it's cool because anime has helped develop the culture in American audiences of being okay with limited animation, very limited animation. So you don't have to do as many drawings and breakdowns to communicate a gag.
Well, that's pretty... That's weird. I know nothing about this.
This is animation snobbery, and I apologize.
Yeah, you should.
But it is economical. It can be done, and I have enough friends in animation, just like this guy that has a brother that can work. We'll take a look at the brother's work, and it's just about character and writing and the voice work. The voice actors they either kill it, and with a script, or it just kind of dies, and you go, "Ooh, I didn't write the right stuff for them."
I know a voice actor on the rise.
There you go.
If you're ever looking for one,
does he have is half his body mass his nose?
Maybe.
I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great.
Anthony Tupin. Hey, buddy, how's it going? Are you married yet? I can't remember. Hopefully Corona's not messing with that. He says, that Sean dude is brain dead. He was so self-assured in his points, despite talking in circles and never actually making one. I agree, man. And I know you agree with me because I know you live in Freedom Land and are manlier than half the people I've ever met. So thank you. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Hope you're doing well, buddy. What the hell is this? What? Oh, jeez. No, I get emails every time someone subscribes to the channel, which is cool, except I just got a subscription from an email or from someone whose username is like, it looked like the subject line of an email that didn't make any sense. And I was like, what the hell is this? Sorry. It caught my eye and
it got you.
I'm like I'm like the dog in Up.
I don't even know where that button is on YouTube.
I don't either. I want to kind of want to turn it off.
You only got 70,000 of these emails already.
Well, no, that's the crazy thing. I have way more than that. This is one thing I found out a couple months ago. I was having this thing where every time I would do a live stream, I would lose 20 to 40 subscribers when the show went live. Just straight out. Boom, gone.
That's like, because I was on your show.
No, every night, Doug, every night. And I was like, okay, that's a lot of people to see a notification and go, I'm going to unsubscribe. That seems a little proactive.
Yeah.
So I surmise that YouTube might be maybe removing people for me as a generous and benevolent lover. YouTube banning might be removing people from my show. And so I went and looked, and when I would start getting emails, I would search for the exact same name in my email because I didn't delete any of them. And I would have some people who had subscribed to me like 6 times, 7 times, 8 times. And so YouTube had been kicking them off and they would resubscribe and then kicking them off.
Wow.
And we're talking like 2 weeks apart, like clockwork. It was nuts. So I kind of liked having it on. And I have a YouTube guy now, and I talked to him about it. He's like, no, we don't do that. I was like, you literally do. I'll show you. He's like, no. People are just clicking off. And I'm like, okay, all right.
All right. Whatever you say, boss.
It's weird. And bots, someone says bots. They could be bots, but they didn't really have bot-like names. They had names like yours or others. So, anyway,
I've got 13,000 subscribers. I get an average of 600 views a show. So I figure half of those have to be either bots or dead accounts. Something's going wrong with my.
Well, can we talk about someone else who did a show? They're not normally a YouTube personality, but their appearance on a particular small show gave it a massive boost to viewership just recently.
Yes, Vic Mignogna.
No, not that one. That was see, that's less funny. That's good news. He came on your show. You got a ton of views.
Tons.
I'm mildly jealous that he came on your show.
Well, when you come on at Spikes, you're one of my top Spikes.
Yeah, and that's always fun. I like coming on your show. But I'm jealous because Vic went on your show. I just got to say that. But
he loves me more.
I think so. Rude.
I'm not as legally entangled as you are.
Now listen, we're not going to go there. No details on this, Doug.
I can't tell if it's a Captain America star on your chest or a target.
It's both. It's
okay.
Both. But so anyway, that is fantastic. No, this is a real estate show. And there was a certain man by the name of Ron Toye.
Oh yeah.
Who went on a show with two twin realtors in the Dallas area. Two just normal looking real estate women who must sell homes together. I don't know. And I've never watched the video. I didn't watch it. Someone sent it to me and on Discord or something. And
Could you stand it? Could you stand sitting through the video? Was it entertaining?
No, I didn't watch it. I still haven't watched it. I haven't even clicked play on it. I don't care.
How many viewers did it get?
Well, the channel has 470 subscribers.
What?
And they unlisted the video when it hit 800 something views, and all of them were downvotes.
Oh, there you go. Oh, see, your audience is loyal.
No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I didn't even talk about it. Someone sent it to me on Discord, and all I did, and I don't think this is even in my own Discord. All I did was I clicked on the link, and there were 2 comments on the video at the time, and I just laughed because they were both comments making fun of Ron Toye. And so I was like, ha! So I snipped the comments and sent it back in the place where it was sent to me, and I said, this is hilarious. That's it. Now, this is not like a huge Discord. I didn't ask anybody to go watch it. I don't care. I didn't cover it on my channel or anything like that. But I am accused of trying to ratio the video, which is like, oh man, I wish I would have.
No.
I wish
no
I would have.
One's that obedient either.
No,
I know your audience isn't that obedient. I've read the comments.
Well, and I don't tell my audience what to do. It's not my style. I don't believe in that anyway, right? People will be who they are, and that's up to them. I'm not in control of them. I don't want responsibility for the actions of others. That's just not.
So who do you think went after Ron Toye, or is it the organic audience of the twins just said, get this guy off your show?
No, I think it was. Now, likely some of the people who commented have watched my show before. I don't know if any of the other YouTubers covered it. I think I heard someone did, but I'm not going to say who because I don't want to blame anybody for anything like that. But I believe another YouTuber in the Vic sort of sphere did cover it. And it's very likely that audience has overlap with mine.
Sure.
But here's the reality.
I know who you're talking. I know 2 guys you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, like 800 people don't like Ron Toye enough to go ahead and hit the downvote and to comment on it. And that made him really, really upset. And that was the sweetest nectar that could be given to me, Doug.
It's best when it's not your fault, because then it's more organic.
Yeah.
I
didn't have anything to do with it.
Here's to your victory.
Yeah. Cheers.
Ron Toye, here's to you.
Oh boy. Speaking of which, guys, Ronversations will probably be something like Saturday. I have so much to share with you. This man will not quit me. This guy reaches out to me and talks to me almost, well, he'll go in spurts where he'll talk to me for like 3 days straight, just nonstop. And all I do is insult him.
He has your home address.
No,
so.
he doesn't, though.
He doesn't. I thought he did.
No, they have my old address.
Oh, that's right. The old home address.
As far as I know, they don't have my current home address.
Oh, okay.
Because they probably looked up the property tax records, like that's what you do, and found the one that has my name on it, which is my...
He wanted everyone to know about your old home address. He thought it was your new one.
Yeah. Well, they didn't do the research. They could have asked. I would have told him.
He's gee for you. He's gee.
Yeah. But so he will just send me like 3 days worth of stuff, and all I do is make fun of him. Like, that's it. I don't...
How does he send it to you?
Twitter DMs.
Oh, okay.
He's in protected mode on Twitter, so you can't like initiate conversation, but he could initiate it with me, and so he did. And it's a magical experience. So I know why he does it. He wants people to see his messaging, so I'm happy to share those with the world. So I do that on a stream called Ronversations, and we just go through and talk
so
about
Saturday
everything.
We're going through his messages,
I think it's going to be
letters.
Saturday, mainly because I have a guest tomorrow and I have a big brain panel on Friday. So that would make going through them a little bit difficult.
We're going to get a Chad Dad going too.
I know.
Chad Dads.
Yeah. I talked to Larry just the other. I was so excited. I was going to go see him in LA, and then a whole bunch of people decided to get communists sick, and now I can't go. I'm angry, Doug.
You can fly out there. We'll do a show.
Well, I'm not going to go out to LA if I'm not going to do the show right now, because I assume Dick will do another show and it would be hard to justify a second trip out to LA.
True.
So I'm saving up the plane tickets that I bought. We will get exchange credit for, and I will fly out to LA when he does the next, when he can do the live show. And I'll be there for that.
Are they first class?
They're Comfort Plus.
Oh, okay.
So all of the plane flights were dirt cheap for coach. They're like $260, and then Comfort Plus was almost double, and then first class was double that, which was first class was like normal first class price, whereas everything else was cheaper, is I guess what I'm getting at. And so I didn't do the first class. I like to fly first class because it's a business expense.
Right.
So
it's so rare for me to fly that I usually go first class, but
you'd have to, because
my height is insane. And some guy in front of me, it's always some guy trying to test my merit, who keeps putting his seat back right in my lap.
Did you see the guy who his iMac got broken because the person in front of him reclined, and the screen?
I didn't see that.
So the screen must, you know how you pull the tray down and then there's that groove? Yeah. So the screen must have been like in the groove. So the guy reclined his seat back and it just compressed the screen, just snapped it.
I've used this laptop right here. It has a notch in it. I don't know if you can see it, but it's got a notch in it because what I do is I put the laptop against the seat in front of me and my seat, the bottom of my seat, so that when the guy tries to put his seat back, it'll just stop right on my laptop, because these are like metal. So that's my only defense. Well,
I can barely sit and coach. And you're like 5 inches taller than me. That would be an absolute nightmare.
I tap on the guy's shoulder. I go, bro, I'm 6'8". And sometimes they'll look back at me and go, not my fault. They always have that accent. Okay. Not my fault.
Sure.
Okay,
the worst is like, it's not even particularly large people, but it's people who take up a ton of space in the seat. When I went to HawaiiCon, and when Lady Rackets and I came back from Hawaii, I sat next to this guy, and I don't know how, because he wasn't that big of a guy, but he took up like a third of my seat and his own whole seat. And I was like, dude, what the hell is going on? So I'm like,
you should be paying for a third of my seat.
Yeah, I was like crunched over. And it's like, come on, man. How are you spilling over your armrest? This is just weird.
I'm always between two of those guys.
Yeah, well, I always have a lady to protect me on one side.
Yeah, I always ask if I have an empty seat next to me, I see a frail old Asian woman, and I always go, sit right here next to me. I always try and get a scrawny old woman next to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Right here.
Here, ma'am.
Scrawny old Asian lady, right here.
Sit down. Take up no
here.
space.
By me.
But okay, Fujimura Pensu says, random question. Our governor is trying to mandate employers to take workers' temperatures daily at work now. Seems like a serious invasion of privacy. Is it even legal? I mean, that does seem like a violation of your right to privacy and your health. They're also not doctors or nurses. Do you know what it takes to be qualified to take a temperature of someone? Like
probably 2 years of nursing or something.
Yeah, and you have to be, part of it is because you have to be bound by HIPAA privacy laws, that you're not going to walk over and be like, oh yeah, Doug over there's he's got 102 temperature. They can't do that. They can't even tell your boss the temperature. So
I went to the dermatologist the other day, and they took my temperature before they allowed me in the office. Do they have a right to refusal of service to anybody for any reason? Do they have a right to refusal at the dermatologist?
Yeah. Yeah, I think at a dermatologist,
does any business have a right to take your temperature and say you can't come in unless?
That's yeah. I mean, they could say, as long as they put it up front and say, by coming in, you consent to us taking your temperature upon entry. And if you don't like that, go somewhere else, you scumbag. As long as they're not doing it to like just one race or something, they're fine. You'd be surprised. But that's how that tends to work. You can deny service to anybody, but if they notice a pattern that you are only denying Hindus, for example, of service, then, they're like, okay, that's religious discrimination. That's not going to work.
Unless Hindus are more likely to get the coronavirus.
Even so, I think that would raise some eyebrows.
What about Chinese people?
They don't allow them anywhere. Everybody's okay with that one, apparently.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then finally it says, is it even legal? I mean, not really, probably. It's probably not really, except the governor emergency powers are crazy, so it's hard to say. They're actually way broader than you think. If you refuse and your employer fires you, could you sue? I mean, you could try. You could certainly sue. I don't know if you'd win. Especially if your employer was following a peacetime emergency mandate from a governor, it'd be hard to argue that they did anything.
Nick, I have a $20 super chat. I was supposed to start jury duty on Monday.
No, you weren't. What about that?
I was supposed to, and I called in, and they closed court down, so my jury service was considered completely served, and I jumped for joy.
Yeah,
Am I evil?
Yes. No, of course not. Jury duty is awful.
It is. What a scam. I don't want to get in some slip and fall case and waste my time on this clogged up the jury system garbage.
You should do everything in your power to let the judge know that you fully believe in jury nullification.
Yeah. I just tell them I campaign for tort reform, and that usually gets me dismissed.
Who's guilty? The lawyers are crooks.
That's right.
Especially defense attorneys.
Sorry, man, you'll get dismissed every time.
I believe in hanging for theft. That works. Siren Jag says, now that I'm not driving, Nick, that little rectal wart manipulated another set of twins into letting him on their channel to do image rehab, then talked about time management for his Twitter defamation hobby. I don't know what he expected.
Is this Ron Toye?
I assume that's the rectal wart he's talking about. So I don't know. It's that. Hold on. It's just a weird place to be. But I don't think he realizes the irony that he's mad that people went on the internet and said stuff about him that he disagrees with. Like that, because that's literally what the guy did to Vic. Except with him, it was more intentional. He was saying, I want him removed, all of this stuff. And it was him sending 370 messages about Vic. Whereas in this one, it's probably 300, 400 individual people sending individual messages. But I mean, they were doing stuff like calling him a wife abuser because he has a court documented history of abusing women. He threatened to murder.
That's well documented. Well documented.
Yep. And the court found that family violence occurred and was likely that family violence would continue to occur without court intervention. That's the order from the court.
We don't want to argue with the courts.
No, of course not.
Here on Rekieta Law.
He also threatened to murder a child, more than one child, including the children's judge or the judge's children.
We don't recommend that on Rekieta Law.
No. And he beat his wife with a universal remote, similar to this one, but listen really closely.
Probably bigger.
I don't know. He's not a big guy. Listen.
I'm going to kill a judge's kid.
Yeah, but it's the Ron Toye remote. When you press a button on this remote, it says that.
That's hideous.
I know. He threatened to murder a judge's child.
I'm going to kill a judge's kid. How can this guy still practice law, Nick?
Oh, he doesn't practice. He's not a lawyer. He's a real estate agent.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought he was a lawyer.
No. He's one of the parties to.
I've heard all this garbage about Ron Toye, and he's a real estate agent.
Oh yeah. His lawyer's his own pile of garbage, but Ron is a particular scumbag. So
okay.
It's great. I just love it. It's like he was so mad at me for ratioing that video, which I didn't even do, and I didn't even click dislike. I don't care. Like
he's mad at you like you didn't even do.
I know. I used to
fully applaud that ratioing, but it doesn't mean you did it.
I don't even applaud it. I just think it was. I think it was funny. But like, if no one had ratioed it, I would care zero. And that people ratioed it, I care zero. I find it comical. But the funniest part is how mad he is about it. Because like literally what you spent the entire last year doing. And a few people do it to you one time and you freak out like it's the end of the world on a video that no one is going to watch except these people. No one wants to watch 3 people talk about real estate. Oh my God. I can't think of dying slower than that. Please give me the coronavirus.
What are the chances of him learning empathy from this whole thing?
0. He doesn't think he's bad. He actually thinks this is the interesting thing. Okay, you tell me your opinion on this, because maybe I'm a jackass. Wait, correction. I am, but maybe I'm the jackass.
A reasonable jackass.
Maybe I'm the jackass in this situation. Ron has a documented history of abuse. Now, when I have never, ever attempted to contact Ron or Monica or any party to this lawsuit. Whenever anybody asks me about anything, I say, leave them alone. You know, we could talk about them online. Don't tag them. Don't send them messages. Don't send them mail, email. Don't go bother them at conventions. Don't do anything. A couple people
anti-harass. Yeah.
Right. A couple people did stuff at conventions and then wanted to come on my show. And I said, no, thank you. That's not the type of stuff I want to promote. If someone's working at a convention, let them work at the convention. Don't ruin the show for other people or anything like that. So that's me. So it's important to note that these Ronversations, Ron reaches out to me. I don't reach out to him. I've never desired to talk to this person in my life. So he reaches out to me and he opens up with insults and then what I perceive to be an attempt at manipulation. He wants me to tell his story to my followers. So I respond by being a complete prick. Like that's just how it goes. And I feel like that's honest. But I firmly believe, and here's one of the lines. I said, Ron, you horrifically abused your wife and you threatened to murder her child. And he says, well, I don't think it was that horrific. Okay. This is a guy who says that he was wrong in the past, that he did bad things, and now he's a better person. But he's at the same time saying, what I did wasn't that bad. Does that strike you as a problem?
Yeah, it seems like he's not properly deferential. He's not properly
seems to me like he doesn't
mourning his past.
He doesn't believe that he was wrong. He like went through steps and motions, but he doesn't believe he was wrong. So I've
never threatened my wife.
It's amazing me either.
So I mourn a lot of things in my past, but threatening my wife isn't one of them. That seems to cross a line that.
Have you ever threatened to murder children?
Let me think for a second. No.
Have you ever threatened to murder someone's dog if they didn't pick up the phone when you called?
No.
Huh.
No.
It's weird. I don't know how you got.
He's threatened someone's dog?
His ex-wife's dog. Because she didn't answer the phone when he called.
Is that established in the court?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's I don't understand. I can't imagine
I'm
that.
I'm baffled myself. I can't keep up with this real estate guy.
That's not how your marriage works. I mean,
no. Now we don't have a dog. If she had a dog, I don't know if I'd threaten to kill it or not, but it just seems kind of like that crosses a line.
It seems like, well, what about a cat? Would you threaten?
We have a cat.
Would you threaten to chop up your wife's cat?
Not if I expected to remain married.
Yeah.
The beloved Miss TenNapel
even if you didn't
tolerate that.
Not because of the cat either. It's not like the cat killed like your kid or something, right?
Yeah.
It's because Miss TenNapel didn't pick up a phone when you called, so you're going to murder her cat and chop it up.
Yeah, my flavor of Tourette's never has me blowing up and just threatening to kill the cat to my wife.
Now, eating the cat's okay? As long as you eat it whole.
Yeah, as long as you eat it alive, like in China.
Yeah, like in what was that? Man's Best Friend, the dog that just swallows the cat whole. That was a sad scene.
Yeah, no, I love my cat. We have a great black cat.
I know. He's really nice.
I'll admit that I hate the cat.
Well, but cats are made to be hated because they don't care that they're hated.
Yeah, you pet him and he walks away with his tail straight up and shows you his butt. I think I get.
Right. That's how it goes.
Every day I get insulted by my cat and the entire internet.
Let's move into that after this chat. JCF Data says, "Evening, Nick and Doug. Nice to see you again, Doug. Don't always agree with you, but you make me think, and boy, I love your work. My Earthworm Gym book is amazing and look forward to BigFootBill 2. Sorry to hear about the cover drama." Oh, and perfect transition that I didn't even plan.
Segue.
Let's talk about that cover drama. It was, I was kind of watching from the sidelines, just on the periphery on Twitter, and I saw, so you had a cover, and it was going to be an alternate cover or something that's going to be done by a guy that I've never heard of, but is
Sean Gordon Murphy, the #1 Batman artist in the world, Nick. That's why you've never heard of him.
Yeah, because I could care less.
He doesn't do Warhammer.
I could care less about Batman.
Doesn't do Warhammer.
I could care slightly less about artists in general, but Batman predominantly.
Yeah.
But no,
that's good deference. That's a good. That's good neglect. That's well-placed neglect, Nick.
It's just so far outside of my knowledge base that I don't know who these people are. So
it's okay. I don't care about lawyers. So go ahead.
Yeah, I don't either. They're awful. So Sean Gordon Murphy is contracted in some sort, or has promised to do a cover with you for the BigFootBill.
He did a cover. He did the cover. We launched the campaign with Sean Gordon Murphy's cover.
Okay, and then something happens, and he pulls the cover. He says, "Nope, not doing it."
Yeah.
Which is weird because he already did it, but he's not doing it. So does that mean you get to sell the cover, but he doesn't sign it? Or does that mean that you don't get to sell the cover? What does it mean?
He never agreed to sign the cover. It's he and I are friends, longtime friends. But he's a man a little farther to the left than me, which is pretty much everyone I know. And he was getting heat over my views that marriage is between one man and one woman.
Sure.
Specifically over a tweet where a lot of people were saying, calling me a homophobe and a transphobe. And so I tweeted that transphobe is a made-up word.
Sure.
And he had sent me a message, and I can, that he said, this could bring me a lot of trouble with my DC deal, the Murphyverse, which is a big, giant, multi-million-dollar Batman deal that he's doing with DC. He just got hit by Tess Fowler, who's a huge LGBTQ activist. going after Blake Northcott, who is I don't know if she's Comicsgate or not, but she writes for him, and Tess went after them, and so Sean was feeling extra.
I've heard the name Blake Northcott. I don't know why.
Oh, she's very good. She writes for Mitch Breitweiser's company, Allegiance. Kelsey Shannon, who's an amazing artist, he colored BigFootBill 1. He drew Nora's Saga, and Blake Northcott wrote it.
Okay, and, I might have seen her name on Twitter or something like that.
She's wonderful. She's wonderful and a great writer. And so she wrote a bunch of Catwoman stuff for Sean Gordon Murphy. And so Tess Fowler, this kind of LGBTQ activist, went after him, and he started feeling like, hey, this isn't, I have a lot of gay and lesbian friends that are really upset about this. And so I said, look, doing a BigFootBill cover for free is not worth jeopardizing your Murphyverse deal with DC.
Sure.
So I said, I'm willing to pull the cover. I
Gotcha.
said, I think it would be extreme, but you say the word. And that's what I would do for a friend, is I'm willing to take the heat for what I believe. He shouldn't have to pay for what I believe. I should. So the next day, he had talked it over with his girl, and they just decided to pull the cover. So I don't.
Now, originally, correct me if I'm wrong, originally you thought Jim Lee was involved in that decision.
Yeah. And that was my mistake, was I had misunderstood what Sean said, which was something like, he and I were messaging back and forth. He said, I was talking to Jim Lee last night about all the controversy. And, this isn't good, is what he told me.
Sure.
Now, I thought he was talking, when he said the controversy, I thought he was talking about my problem. He was talking about Blake Northcott.
Oh, okay.
So I opened my big fat mouth and went after Jim Lee on Twitter and said, Jim Lee,
yeah,
did you not talk to Sean Gordon Murphy yesterday about my cover? And Jim Lee goes, Doug, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm all, Jim Lee of DC.
You got a response from Jim Lee on Twitter.
I did. It's the first time. And he's a cool guy. I'm telling you, these are all cool guys. And on that one, I really stepped in it. And so
yeah.
I publicly apologized to Jim Lee. I said, Jim Lee was not involved with this, guys. I'm sorry, Jim Lee. You don't have a right to have me come after you. I really stepped in it. I apologized to him. I apologized to Sean Gordon Murphy. It was a misunderstanding. Easy to misunderstand, by the way that interaction with Sean and I went back and forth. It looked like we were talking about the same subject, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
So I owed Jim Lee an apology. I stand by that apology.
Yeah, I saw you make that, and I thought that was pretty good of you to go ahead and own up to that. And
I don't want to impugn any man's character that doesn't have it coming to him.
And there's the unfortunate thing is there's no way to fully walk something like that back, but you try, right? It's like, well,
I did a lot of damage.
Yeah. So, but that was pretty interesting. But
Sean and I decided the next day to pull the cover.
Okay. So, but there were people. Well, were there people going after Sean on the cover?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. So
all of Tess Fowler's people were going after him over me.
Sure. But just Jim Lee was concerned about the Blake Northcott. Attacks, which are also coming from Tess Fowler, who sounds like a delightful individual.
She's been after me for about 10 years on Twitter.
Wow.
Regularly going out, and it's the LGBTQ stuff. This is just a difference of values, right? This is my own personal religious values as I understand reality, that marriage should be between one man and one woman. And I get that a lot of people don't agree with that, especially in comics. But, I don't think it's that radical. I don't think it's strange. I think it is supported by a lot of different factors besides my religion. And I stand by it. I don't apologize for that. And I assume I'm going to get some heat for that. So I'm okay with that.
Sure.
So we pulled the cover. And then I made a new cover, as kind of a recovery, trying to get back on my feet. And I, of course, had to make a new cover for the book.
Right.
So, and on that day that Sean announced that our cover was separated, and he had to do the boilerplate apology through DC. That was all with DC, and he's very cool with me. I don't want people going after Sean. I don't like the controversy. I actually think it's such a trivial subject that I don't want it to eclipse the quality of the comic or the story, or to eclipse Sean's career or anything, or DC or anything like that. I disagree with DC, most of their values and most of what's going on in comics, but I just don't want it to eclipse the work itself. That the work itself should be, do you like the story? Do you like the art? Do you like it? And that should be about all it takes to decide if you should buy something or not my personal beliefs or what Sean did or didn't do.
Sure.
Anyways, I had one of the largest raises of the entire campaign on the day that he canceled it. We raised $5,700 on BigFootBill too.
Nice.
And I'm really appreciative of the fan base came out and supported me. And those are my people. The people that canceled me are not my people. The people who supported me, including you, have always been a big support of my career, and those people who I work hard for every day.
Yeah, well, I love the stuff that you put out. This sounds dumb, but you can tell I appreciate the craftsmanship that goes into the books. For me, I don't have a collection of comic books, but I have a lot of books, like book books. And so the fact that your comic comes as a book is actually a big draw for me, because that's what goes on my shelves in my house. And when people come over, that's what they see. Now, if I had a stand of comic books, it might be a little bit more confusing. I might look for, Ethan, of course. I don't want to get into the drama between you and Ethan.
No.
That's not what this is for.
All people need to know is he and I don't see eye to eye, but I really am fascinated by his success and encouraged by it.
Yeah, because Cyberfrog 2 is doing fantastic.
Wrecked Planet on Indiegogo is huge.
Right. And it's doing great. And so this isn't about that, but I just wanted to point out that Ethan makes a different kind of book. And his book is beautiful also, but in a completely different way. It's a comic book with holofoil cover. I think holofoil is the right word. And it looks great. And it looks great displayed forward on. Your books look great displayed by the spine and stuff like that. So
I'm going for more of a Euro library edition comic. His stuff is more for the guys that are into collecting the spinner rack 90s foil cover thing is more his. We have different brands. And, I just think the audience, I'm fascinated by the audience and what they choose. And that's what I'm always trying to do, is just appeal to readers to say, if you want a book, then I'm here to tell you a story. Yeah.
So that's great. I forgot.
And that's what Sean's about. If you do a book, that's what you're about. Tug's about that. It's what everyone who does these books is about, is we're all just starting these tiny independent small companies. And this is a giant experiment because this is brand new. Crowdfunding comics is brand new.
Yeah, crowdfunding everything is brand new. It's no one knows how to deal with it. It's kind of great. It was actually an interesting part of Sargon and Aquila's lawsuit. I don't know if you saw anything about that. Are you familiar with Sargon of Akkad?
Yes.
What about Aquila, obviously?
Yes.
Okay, so back in 2016, right after the election, Aquila did a video where she said, we thought she would win, about Hillary, and Sargon cut some pieces out of it and basically just rebroadcast them without commentary, and the title was SJW Levels of Awareness. Yep. And so he cut a minute and a half out of her 10-minute video and just played that. And so she sued him, she lost, and now they're arguing over fees.
The question was it new content according to, he was on YouTube platform, right?
You have significant experience in copyright and issues like that.
Yep.
Are you surprised that the court found that merely having the name Sargon of Akkad, having the title be SJW levels of awareness and having it be 1.5 minutes rather than 10 minutes, but no other commentary. Are you surprised that that was considered transformative?
It is not surprising to me.
Very cool. Okay. Talk about it.
Well, because if those laws are very broad in favor of the artist making the changes.
Right.
And this goes all the way back to Marcel Duchamp drawing a mustache on the Mona Lisa. He made a print of the Mona Lisa. He just drew a mustache on it.
Right.
And there was all kinds of controversy over, was this a unique piece of art? Did he, the other person did all the work. But as soon as you're providing a new spin on it or a new commentary on it, it is a unique statement, even if you're using someone else's work.
Right.
That's what the law says.
So how much change do you think is necessary? Like, what if I just showed, I'm trying to figure this out. Like
it's as you could do as little as possible, Nick.
Yeah. Well, that's the question. Cause like, let's say I just grab someone's tweets, who people know I disagree with, and I just present them without commentary, and people would know that I think these are stupid, or would probably infer that I think these are stupid. And is that sufficient? Is that sufficient change?
My understanding is the only place where it's not sufficient is if the broadest audience would be confused if it came from the original source or the new source. Yeah. It comes down to perception. Look, Andy Warhol took exact replicas of Campbell's soup cans and presented them as paintings. He was making a commentary on commercialism. Right. He made the Campbell soup can, by the way. Yeah, as accurate as possible. We studied him. This is my whole study of fine art in the 80s. And it was considered legal, and I agree with it, that if you're making commentary on someone else's material, it becomes a new thing.
Yeah. And I think so too. I think a lot of people, I think even the courts maybe have not taken a broad enough approach to what is transformative. What is a transformative use? And I find that it's very interesting because in today's day, it does seem to be charged a lot politically. We saw Alex Jones get sued over his inclusion of Pepe in the whatever that Make America Great Again poster that he was selling for $17.76. Everything about that poster screamed transformative use.
Right.
And then
I agree.
You have a bunch of people out there, including copyright attorneys like Leonard French, saying, I don't know if this is transformative. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Of course that was transformative. Yeah. Like, there's no way I think that Pepe there is Pepe from the comic, right? I think that is Pepe the meme at that point.
Right. This is where I have a problem with some law, Nick, is that you and I know what's right, but the idea that you can convince a jury or have your favorite judge on a case to agree with you, to be right, that's what I'm skeptical of. Like, shopping for judges and shopping for juries is tough because you have to have a very well-educated jury on those kinds of cases.
Yeah.
Oh, there's guys that they drew a little tiny mustache on Mickey Mouse. There's guys that have done transformative material and they've lost those cases. I'm usually against all those cases. So
yeah, it's an interesting place to be. But where I was going with that case is part of so Aquila lost.
Right.
As many people expected. I was a little bit surprised, not that she lost, but at how some of the things the judge said. But I'm not a copyright expert or anything like that. So I just was happily watching on that one. And now the argument is over how much Sargon gets awarded in fees, if any. And part of the argument is Sargon's asking for, after all told, about $38,000 in fees, which
sounds cheap to me.
It is very, very cheap, especially considering the case started in 2016 and ended in 2020.
Yeah.
So 3.5 years, or no, it started in 2017. I'm sorry. 2.5 years of time has gone by. But and he did it on the cheap. He wanted a motion to dismiss, and he didn't. There was clearly a no frills defense. They didn't screw around. They went straight for the jugular and won.
Yeah.
So he's asking for about 38 grand, but he crowdfunded 121 grand for the lawsuit. So part of her argument is I shouldn't have to pay because these people gave him a profit of $83,000.
Yeah, that has nothing to do. I think that has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Zero.
Because if you work for a company and your company bankrolls your lawsuit, that doesn't change the fact that you incurred the cost of your company. And that's a significant cost, right? Because even if you didn't pay the monetary cost, your company paid that and has to look at you and you have a price tag. And
well, isn't the law that she pays the damages?
It could be. There's a statute that allows someone who goes on with an utterly frivolous lawsuit, which the judge's opinion seems to reflect that it's utterly frivolous.
Yeah.
That they're awarded fees. The question always is how many fees? What's the judge going to end up giving the person? If anything. And I think in this one, Sargon is going to win some fees, but I don't think he's going to get the full amount because judges just don't like to do that.
He should win the full 100% amount from her.
I absolutely
I think part of tort
agree.
reform is that to stop these frivolous lawsuits is loser pays.
Yeah, I think.
Are you on board with loser pays everything?
Not always. Most of the time. But I do think that there are lawsuits that people bring in good faith and it doesn't work out one way or another, or there's a question of law that's confusing, or a whole bunch of stuff could happen where they end up losing. And I mean, I'll obviously reference Vic's case here. Yeah. I think we have a case where the defendants have not denied making any of the tweets or statements. Undeniably, he suffered damage from them.
Yep.
The only thing that they say is that the damage must have come from somewhere else, although they can't point to where it actually came from, and that he didn't bring enough evidence to prove that they're the cause to get past this pretrial procedure. I really have a problem with them being awarded any fees, much less the full fees on something like that, because even the judge at the fee hearing said, I don't think this was frivolous. It doesn't look like they think it was frivolous. He's dismissing all the claims, but he's saying, he's clearly identifying, you guys did this stuff. This guy suffered damage. And so at that point, I don't see how you can hold someone to have brought a claim in bad faith. And so I do think bad faith, frivolous claims, all fees, right? But I think there are meritorious claims that fail with regularity.
Sure.
So it'd be pretty weird to say that everybody.
I don't know anything about that stuff. Obviously, that's so far in the backwoods of legal theory and stuff that I don't have an opinion. I don't know anything about it. I am rooting for Vic though.
Yeah. We'll see.
Good guy. What a good guy.
He is a good guy. Oh, how about this? People were after him on Twitter because he went to Las Vegas Toy Con last weekend and met with people. And they were saying that even though the show was still going and he had a contract to show, he should not have gone because of coronavirus. That he should have stayed away from his fans and not gone.
No.
Isn't that funny?
In fact, Vic's the kind of guy that would be glad to get the coronavirus to meet with his fans if I know him right.
Well, maybe. I don't like putting that kind of pressure on anybody.
That's what I think of him. That's my opinion.
Oh my gosh.
I think he loves people. That was one of the biggest things that really convinced me of him is when I talked to him privately is he seemed to really like people. He loves his fans. Like it's a true love that you just don't. I've been around so many voice actors. I'm not used to seeing that. Rob Paulson has the same thing, like a true love for people.
It seems
you wish it was rewarded in some way in this world.
Well, and maybe you can identify with this. When I first started talking to him, I was like, there's no way that this is true.
Yeah.
Like he starts describing things like answering all these emails and stuff. And I'm like, there's no way somebody does this.
Yeah.
But then you watch it and you look and you start to pay attention. Yeah, he does. And it's like, oh my God, this guy's out of his mind.
Before I knew anything about it, I was just saying like, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. And then after I met him and talked to him, I was 100% convinced. I just said, there's no way. There's no way this guy.
Yeah, because when you first came on the show, based on your interactions with other voice actors, you're like, I think maybe this is a thing. I think maybe this is going on.
I never knew of a voice actor who would rat another one out. You know what I mean? Like who would invent something like that.
Yeah.
And then I started looking at the tweets and looking at the ground game and stuff. And I go, wait a minute, this guy's getting whacked in a way that is not right.
Yeah. In a way that you didn't pay for.
Well, I'm just saying he's a guy that just I haven't met a lot of guys like him.
That was a hand job joke, Doug.
Yeah. Well, I'm not above that. He's a good guy.
He is. I was really glad to spend some time with him up in Canada. I hope I get to see him at another show this year. I don't know if I will or not, especially with Corona-chan canceling everything on Earth.
Every Comic-Con. I saw WonderCon. I'm waiting. We usually go out to Comic-Con in
San Diego.
In San Diego, man.
Now, do you go to San Diego Comic-Con as a guest, or do you go just like you don't like go and buy a bunch of tickets and hang out like a normal con goer?
Because I'm a Eisner winner from 2000 for my work on the Simpsons comic. I got an Eisner Award.
Sure.
You automatically get you and your entire family free. No lines. You walk up and I get badges for all my kids, and we get in free.
That's cool.
It's very cool. And really, I'm not into the public stuff like that. Like I get real nervous in public. I usually end up spending the time with my friends at cigar shops in San Diego, in downtown, who are like visiting, and I visit, all of my agent and all my friends and stuff, and I'll stop in on Mike Mignola and different guys, Steve Purcell, just guys who have been meeting for like 30, 20 years, at Comic-Con.
Sure.
And now my kids are old enough that they want to go to con because they're all teens, late teens, so they all want to go. So I get them in, and then, but I want to spend as little time on the floor. I'll buy a few, Robotech models or something, or a Godzilla figure, and then and then get out.
You buy Robotech models like Veritex?
I do. Any model that looks hard, that requires like a razor blade and like tiny, it's very good for me to be distracted by that stuff. And I go to Stuart Ang and buy all the European imports.
So are you going to help your son paint all his minis when he spends $10,000 on an elite Blood Angels Warhammer army?
I've already painted all of his D&D minis for him. and I painted Warhammer back in the day, probably back in early 90s. I had Warhammer figures.
Sure.
So if he gets into Warhammer, he might need some mentoring from Uncle Nick.
Oh my God, I don't know how to paint. Lady Rackets and I bought a couple minis, and we bought some paints to try and figure this out. We also we picked up a game. It was a
Warhammer is so much more badass than D&D.
Oh yeah,
the
absolutely.
Figures are just a blast.
Well, we picked up this other game though, which is really cool. It's called Cthulhu Death May Die. And it was a Kickstarter board game, and it comes with all these really detailed minis for the game, and you don't have to paint them, but of course they're better if you do. And so we bought some Warhammer sets that we don't really care about to kind of practice painting techniques. Yeah. And then we're going to paint those Cthulhu minis sometime.
Well, we both know someone who's really good at that stuff.
Who's that?
Ty.
Oh yeah, maybe. I don't know if I trust Ty. Actually, Ty and my uncle are very good at painting and stuff like that. Yeah.
I'm just in it for the minis. I just want to paint the figures. Forget the game. I just want to.
I'll say that the Cthulhu game is really fun. It's like this investigation game, and I play it wrong. I always play as Ernest Hemingway.
Oh, good man.
Yeah, because he's drunk and angry, and he's just a murder factory.
Yeah, so it's typecasting.
Yeah, you're supposed to you're supposed to like go around and do all these tasks. And I'm like, you guys do that. I'll just kill all the cultists because this is heresy. And so I'm running around just shooting everything. And it's like, if I live to the end, we'll kill the bad guy. But if I don't live to the end, they have to struggle through it.
So how accurate is it to the Lovecraftian world? Is it lots of tentacles everywhere?
Well, yeah, they have major characters from it. They have Dagon, they have Yog-Sothoth, they have Cthulhu, they have Hastur, he who shall not be named. And then they have the little like lesser entities are all over the place as well. Cool. And it is very it's pretty cool. Like you level up by going more and more insane.
It sounds awful.
And so, well, this is how the Cthulhu mythos works, right? As you learn more, you become better adept and more aware of what's going on around you and the creepiness, but you similarly are going crazy. And so you have to balance leveling up. If you level up too high, you go insane and you die.
I've only read In the Mountains of Madness, so that's all of the Lovecraft I really know. So
what you got to do is go onto Amazon, and for like $1, or it might even be free, you can get the complete works and go back and read his short stories. Okay. They're like 2 pages long and they're just great. Back when he started.
He's a romantic writer. He's very flowery. Of his writing style that I saw of In the Mountains of Madness. I thought he was amazing. And I mean, he put my head in a place that was pretty strange. So
yeah, that was the thing. That's what really kept me reading Lovecraft for a long time. Every time I would read his short stories, I would dream.
I'll check them out.
And that's something weird for me because
I'm sure I can get them on Audible books so I can listen to them while I ink.
Oh yeah, that would work too. That would work. I don't know how the audiobooks are, but yeah, just
In the Mountains of Madness was fantastic. So if anyone else has a recommendation, let me know what I need to read next by Lovecraft.
If you've ever read through his the Necronomicon, which is
I have not.
That's a weird one. That's a fun.
I'd give that a shot. I did watch.
I don't think he's Oh, go ahead.
Color Out of Space featuring Nick Cage this week, and it was just so awful of a movie by the guys that did Brawl on Precinct 99 and Bone Tomahawk. They produced it.
Oh, sure.
Nick Cage is Nick Caging all of the Nick Cage all day.
Yeah, that guy's weird.
It's bad. It's bad. Now, all my friends have said it's so good. So I keep going, like, I'm asking them to explain themselves and going, wait, how is that good?
Did you ever watch the show Community?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I'm buddies with Dan Harmon.
Did you see when? Well, aren't you? Cool? Did you see the episode where the guy does the Nick Cage impression, and it is God, that was dead on. That was so funny.
Yeah, it's a great show. In fact, I shot a animated shot in the Community Christmas special they did in puppet animation. I shot one of the shots of the Indian guy.
My favorite. I can't remember.
Not Apu.
No.
Not Abdul. Ahmed.
Ahmed. Yeah, Ahmed.
Yeah.
Ahmed?
I think his name is that.
Amin. With an N?
Yeah. I did a shot in the puppet animation Community special as a.
I love the flag E pluribus anus.
Yeah.
The arrows.
Yeah.
Ah!
I like the human generic mascot they had to make that was non-offensive. It was just a gray.
Abed.
Guy.
Abed.
Oh, Abed. There you go. Based on the real Abed, who I knew from the Channel 101 days. That's when I made Sock Baby back in the day. And Dan Harmon and Rob Schraub were the first guys to publish my book, Gear, which became Cat Scratch for Nickelodeon. So I knew them back before they were big. We were all kind of starting out in Hollywood, trying to make it and crawl our way up is how I know those guys. Good guys.
Oh, God. Sorry, I was reading the chat with the oh, God. I was listening.
Yeah, heaven forbid you read your own chat.
Well, no, people are revealing things about that Ron Toye video that I just didn't know.
The details of it, the horror. Speaking of Lovecraft and tentacles.
He's moved on now to actually threatening me in various ways. So I'm curious how that's going to turn out.
It sounds like that's so against his nature, given he's threatened people's dogs, children, and wives. I'm shocked.
Yeah, Saturday will be an interesting show. So that'll be fun. Michael Buffer. Oh, excuse me. Says, in the blue corner, hailing from Tennessee, standing tall at 6'8", he's the terror of the trans, the infidel with the ink, the man whose immune system laughs at soap and water, Doug TenNapel.
That is a fact. That is all fact.
In the red corner, fresh off the plane from Wuhan, coming in with an R0 of 6.6. We have the Boomer Reaper, the Wu Flu, the health hazard from Hubei, Corona-chan. Let's get ready to rumble! Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you, Michael Buffer. Not Bruce Buffer, Michael Buffer, who is, I think, his brother. Actually, I think Bruce Buffer's brother is actually Michael Buffer. I don't know. Are you familiar with Bruce and Michael with the Buffers?
Nay.
Nay?
Hey, I'm not familiar.
Oh, they're the guys who announce like all of the UFC, the wrestling.
Oh, okay.
They're the guys who do the "Let's Get Ready to Rumble." That's like their phrase.
I saw that guy in a in a wrestling video game. They had the guy that actually did the voice to Ready to Rumble. Guy.
Yeah, he's they're pretty good stuff. What else were we going to talk about? We got Corona, cancel culture,
cancel culture, and
BigFootBill 2.
BigFootBill 2. That's my book that's out right now on Indiegogo.
I did put the link in the description.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. If you guys want a great book, I worked my ass off on that, and Sean Gordon Murphy is no longer doing the cover. My canceled book.
Oh, so you said though you did a cover to make up for the cover that he's not doing.
It's really good.
Okay, so how does that work? So you're not selling his cover now?
I can't sell his cover anymore. Okay. And that was an agreement between he and I that he's going to send me the original art as a bro, but we're not putting that thing out. And it really is like pure politics. It's not anything between he and I. And you just kind of watch culture blow up and churn. And my job is to sit at this desk and put out a book and provide for my family and do my best. And I'm okay if the whole thing crashes and fails. It's like, this is just another experiment, you know? Right.
Well, I mean, that's the interesting thing. I mean, I don't think it can crash and fail with, it's almost at $100,000 of crowdfunding so far. It's doing very well.
94,000. It's getting up in the 90,000 where I'm starting to make, I haven't made money yet on it, but I'm willing to do this for free. So, because I love making the books. That's why I'm in love with that Warhammer book that you showed earlier. I'm turned on by embossing, debossing, foil, thick covers, high quality color, great story. And I do 160-page epics. So this is book 2 in the epic.
Yeah. So that's pretty interesting. You mentioned that you haven't made money on it yet. That's because the production cost of the book is so high.
It's outrageous.
And what you need, like, part of that is the volume. So as the volume of orders comes in and those increase, that reduces the production cost per unit.
That's true.
And similarly increases the amount. So you have to
That's where the whole business lies on my ability to make a living off it. And there's other stuff that can happen. Like I've got Hollywood interest on it. I've got guys talking about it. So that could be another stream of income. But my thing is, I love making the book. Like I'm not doing this to make a killing or anything. I'll do it for as long as I can. It's fun. It is my pleasure to get to draw this every day. I had so much fun on this book.
I think that's something that not everybody, certainly not everybody who comes into an Indiegogo project understands, is that there's a level of overhead that is being put onto the independent creators. So people see Ethan, for example, and they're like, "Oh, Rec Plan's making 300,000," but he's not actually going to pull in 300 grand. He's going to have
no way he's pulling that in.
Yeah, he's going to have significant production
He's on
costs.
Jersey taxes. He has to pay for printing and the boxes and everything. And I have nothing but sympathy for fellow guys in this business who are doing what we do. It's
Right.
like, I totally get it. I want him to. The thing is, this is what's weird is you can have a disagreement with a guy, huge disagreements with a guy, moral disagreements with a guy, but he is a fellow traveler in my exact business. It's like a different model because he's doing different books than I do, right? Different printing, different audience, different everything.
Yeah.
But I'm learning from him the same way I'm learning from every Indiegogo campaign that is getting north of $100,000 is a huge accomplishment.
Oh yeah,
it is
of course.
Really hard to do, and I don't sit there and go, "Oh, he's just making money hand over fist." How dare he? It's not that. It's these are independent businessmen, and you guys got to understand, like as an artist, to be able to. It feels like you're tricking the whole world to get to make a profit at this stuff. Is more where my fellow, and including Nick, if you end up doing a book, it's like, I hope he can trick the universe into getting this thing funded and maybe making a little money on it.
Well, I keep going back and forth. I don't know if doing a book's the right thing for me, mainly because I've got this idea and I've got someone very capable involved, and now I'm trying to make a connection.
Yeah.
Do you know anybody in Japan?
Yes. Tons.
Really? We need to have a private conversation.
Yeah.
There is a particular property that I am trying to make a connection to license. And I think if I can make that connection, that this is a huge project that will
Japan's a big place, as you know, Nick.
But I don't need a direct connection. I need someone who might have a third or fourth. I need to know how to get into contact with somebody. And so I'm reaching out to everybody I know who might know somebody over there.
I can talk to my guys and find out. The main guys I know are at Sony in Japan, Denzu Printing and Publishing. The Sanrio guys I know are the big, and Marza, some of the guys that did the Sonic animation I know.
See, I imagine even if you don't know the person that's directly there, there's a high possibility that they do know someone.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to look into networking.
I know guys.
Long story short, I want to license. Well, I know someone who wants to license an anime. I want to be involved in the project if possible. Who wants to license an anime for production and distribution in the US, and it would be huge. And it's no one's doing it. So
give me we'll talk off the air and give me a name and I'll talk to my guy.
Yeah, it'd be great.
I'm supposed to take a trip there in May, a family trip. We're going out to Japan, and
You're not going to Japan in May, I don't think.
That's what I'm saying. Is it looks like it has a very high likelihood of getting canceled, which I'm happy because I'm a homebody. But the beloved Miss TenNapel is a world traveler who's like trying to hold on to that trip with everything she's got. I'm like going, honey, they're going to cancel the Olympics.
I've got a problem with going to Japan. One of two things would happen. I would only eat ramen and I would die in the street. Or I would only eat Kobe beef and I would die poor in the street.
Japan is expensive. It is one of the best places I've ever visited as far as safe and fun and amazing. Japan is it's like visiting another planet too. They're so different. Their culture is so alien and yet safe that there's no punishment for exploring. You will eat ramen. You will eat brands of raw fish and uncooked materials that you've never tasted in your life. But people I think they're wonderful. They're one of the most wonderful places I've ever been.
I really want to go. I've always kind of wanted to go, but more and more I want to go now. So we'll see. Maybe that'll happen at
I
some
just figure
point.
if we end up going and they don't cancel us out, then we'll be like the only tourists walking the streets. They'll give you like a red carpet.
Yeah, you're gonna
End of
be.
May.
Well, you're kind of inconspicuous in Japan, right? Like,
dude.
I watched Mr. Baseball. I know how this works.
It's a mess. They have this culture where they aren't allowed to stare or gawk at you. They're just like very honor based, like no, and so what I do is I'll walk down a street, and then I'll turn around real quick and catch them all rubbernecking at me, and they'll look forward real quick, like embarrassed, like And standing in the elevator where like they're down to like my mid chest.
Yeah.
And I'm just it's fun. It's like going to another planet. I really love them.
How many times have you been to Japan?
5 times.
Okay.
I had a coffee shop there in the early 2000s with my business partner, my main guy.
You owned a coffee shop in Japan.
I co-owned a coffee shop with a guy there in the Ginzu district, and it failed. You know me. I mean, I'll try any business, and I'm willing to have it just completely fall on its face.
Did you have the waitresses dressed as French maids?
There was.
Don't lie.
No, but there, I did do all the murals in this. It's called the Goody Bear Cafe, based on one of my characters that was launched at Sony there in Japan. But there was this one trip where I went when they first launched my video game, The Neverhood, and they gave me escorts,
like
professional models who were all 22 years old. And to escort me to the bathroom, even.
Yeah, that's weird.
I was terrified the entire time.
Yeah.
So first they assigned me 18 women, 18 of these models, all dressed like my character.
You need 18 women.
And it was a huge insult if you didn't have 3 of them with you at any given time. It was the bizarrest culture I'd ever been in my life. It was bizarre.
It's interesting because I hate that I gravitate towards this subject. It's just what I've been talking about for a year now, is that the American anime scene is antithetical to the source culture.
Yeah.
Like the idea of I hate to put it this way, but objectification of women and men, specifically young men by women, which is an interesting, or by older women.
Shoku.
Right. This is not controversial in Japan at all. Like objectification and sexual undertones is part of the culture. Now maybe I'm wrong, but it does seem to be undertones that are sort of emphasized. It's not overt, but the idea that like the maid cafe, the slang or the motto of the maid cafe is everyone is 17, right?
That's right.
Because that's the age of consent. And they all act all cutesy and stuff. It's really weird. I went to the one at Anime Matsuri and I was like, this is messed up.
This is legal?
Yeah. I just was like, this is weird. And they were telling me, they're like, that's one of the most famous, maid cafe women around. She's 38. And I mean, this woman looked like she was 15, 16 years old. And it's like, this is a strange thing. I don't understand it.
There isn't a single woke woman in all of Japan. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so they're all just like, it's really weird because they're very much an honor-based culture. So honor-based culture, we don't know what that's like anymore. But the idea of respect and manners still is very strong there.
Yeah.
And it's just, I can't even compare it to anything in America. It's just really different, but it's really, really beautiful and really interesting. I'll go to a graveyard, which is right in the middle of a neighborhood between 2 houses, right? There'll be this little tiny lot, and there'll be like these boards all erected. They don't have tombstones. They have these boards with names written on them and painted. Mm-hmm. I'll go, how old is this graveyard, they'll go, oh, that's 2,500 years old. I'll go, what?
Right.
And they'll, it's just ancestor worship and respect and all that. It's just you'll go to a little sushi place, right? There's 4 tables in the whole place. It's $300 for one table.
Yeah.
And they'll bring out your food. There's no tipping allowed. It is all based on just like their pride of their entire craft or their entire life. They'll go, this is a 17 generation sushi joint. It's been here for 300 years.
Yeah, I've been watching tons of YouTube videos from like Eater and Great Big Story and stuff. These channels that I hate, but they get sponsored, so they pop up in my feed all the time because they suck. And it's and I can't help but watch them. It's like, come see this sushi restaurant that's been open for 400 years, and you're like, 400 years.
Yeah, older than twice the age of our country.
It's unfathomable to think of businesses that old. And it's something that even in Western countries that have been around that long, you find very few places, even in like the UK, that are that old. But in Japan, there seems to be quite a few of these. And I think it's because of that honor tradition and the tradition of Bushido or whatever. I don't know if it's Bushido, but whatever I learned from American Samurai, that it's like excellence in all things, whatever you're doing, and just that level of care. And I watch these.
And there's a dark side to all that, right? With the male dominance and every man dressing in the same suit and all that. There's a dark side to it, but just the neat side of it is wonderful.
Right. And well, the other interesting thing about it is it necessarily suppresses social mobility, because people I will be like, you see these guys and it's like, I will run a ramen stand, and they're selling these bowls of ramen, and you watch the process that it takes to make them, and they're making hundreds of these things a day, and they're selling them at like $10 a bowl.
Yeah.
And you're like, the craftsmanship that went into this ramen is way more than my $10 hamburger at Grizzly's.
Right.
But that's what they do. And they do it with, like, it is a 16-hour workday, 7 days a week. And that's just how they work. But at the same time, it really does. There is no social mobility there. And it's because of the cultural tradition. And I mean, there may be other.
Not from the right family, you're not going to. That's what you also learn to really respect America, because here it's a meritocracy, allegedly, where if you work harder, you can beat us from scum and you can be the president of a company. That doesn't happen over there. Yeah,
it's really interesting.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with your government neat bucks when they come?
If they came, I would put them all on the Dow if it's still down. Or throw it all in, man.
I'm just going to buy a mountain of toilet paper, make a giant throne of it, and light it on fire.
Yeah. Performance art.
Yeah, but I'm not going to film it, though, in protest.
Oh, no, you got to get some clicks out of it, Nick.
No, what I'll do is I'll just put microphones all around it, and I'll just film the audio. But the video will be just me pointed at my American flag in the backyard, crackling with the American flag.
Nick, I don't know how in the world they're going to distribute that money. I'll take it. I mean, it would keep the beloved Miss TenNapel from taking a part-time job if it helps with a little bit of rent. I don't think it'll do a dent in whatever problems we're going to have with this economy.
Yeah, I have no idea what to expect. I'm just casually hoping for the best for the people that I know. I know that I'll probably be okay. And
this country is strong, Nick, and this can't take us out. We got to be bigger than the virus. I mean, if this is what brings us to our knees, that's why I don't like the idea of all of our liberties getting compromised over a little tiny virus. I mean, do
you know where I can get a katana? Not a show katana, a functional one.
Oh, you can.
Just in case I need to robe the countryside as a David Carradine.
But I won't. A gi on you. Yeah, you won't end like David Carradine.
Yeah, no.
With a clothesline, but you'll wear the katana.
Oh yeah, I will wear the katana with pride. Oh, hey, there's someone in the chat that might find this question interesting, Doug. You probably know nothing about this, but let's say there's a YouTuber with a huge channel, like 5 million subscribers.
Yeah.
And now let's say there's another YouTuber with like 1 million subscribers.
Yeah.
Okay. And that 1 million subscriber YouTuber happened to be a pretty famous tattoo artist. Does tattoos for various celebrities and musicians and stuff like that out in Hollywood.
Sure.
Now, let's say there were a video of that celebrity tattoo artist maybe showing his genitals to a girl who turned out to be 15 years old in a different state.
Oh, see, you can't do that.
Now, let's say that said large YouTube channel, the 5 million subscriber one, brought this up, actually interviewed the girl, showed the video appropriately censored, and talked about it. Now, smaller channel sues big channel.
Yeah.
In their complaint, they actually mention that they were having a sexually charged conversation with a minor in the complaint. Do you think this is wise?
That sounds, I would not recommend they do that.
Is that your legal opinion?
My legal opinion is they're hoisting themselves on their own petard. They've just now committed Harry-Carry.
Yeah.
That's an admission of guilt.
It's right. A guilt that wasn't actually in any question, but they're bringing it into a court of law. It's really crazy. Because they're admitting, like, your pleadings are made under oath.
Yeah.
So they're admitting to this under oath in court.
Yeah. Guilty. Guilty is what I say.
Now, the best part is they didn't sue for defamation. So they didn't say that this was a lie or inaccurate. That's the crazy thing. They sued for tortious interference. They said that it's true, but he shouldn't have said anything about it.
It's going to be very hard to get a sympathetic jury on that one.
You think? That might be tough.
Yeah, you better aim for California. That's all I'm saying. That's your only shot is aim for California.
It is brought in California. It is. Well, interestingly, of course, there's jurisdictional problems. The defendant is not in California. He's in New York, and so they tend to not even argue why the defendant should be brought into California. But it's
well, New York ain't gonna help. Ain't gonna help you either.
I'd pick New York over California on that one.
So would I. Yeah.
I do think a New York jury would be like, "Hey, what the hell is this?"
Yeah, I would anticipate that guy's going down.
Yeah,
it's going down.
It's a bad play. So what do you recommend? Like, okay, this is weird because this is completely hypothetical. But someone says, "Look, I made a huge mistake.
Yeah.
I run a business. I did this thing. This guy exposed it. What do I do? My business is in the gutter. No one's coming in to buy my widget. How do I recover from this? What do you recommend to that guy?"
That's tough because when I put my legal hat on, it's never admit guilt because they'll walk all over you. But when I put my moral hat on, it's you have to own what you did wrong. All of us do.
Yeah. And so
especially if it's a public mistake, then you need to make a public apology. I really believe that. Private mistake, different.
Well, this was a private mistake until it was made public.
I do think he owes a private apology to the private parties involved, right? And then they can do with that. They can publicize that with whatever they do. I do think you have to own their problems. It's tough because I think back on my own private things I've done wrong, and I don't want those coming to light. I don't want my Google search history to be exposed to the world.
Nobody does. Nobody does. Nobody
So,
wants to see how much hemorrhoid cream you're actually looking to buy.
The crates and crates, the pallets of hemorrhoid cream.
Did you hear about the guy with the hand sanitizer?
Yeah.
Was that in Tennessee or was that in Kentucky? I think that was Tennessee, wasn't it? Nashville?
It wouldn't surprise me if it was here in my state.
17,700 bottles of Purell.
Did he agree to give them to charity or something?
Well, he said that, but then he didn't return their phone calls. So the government just showed up and took it.
Wait, now why would now you as a lawyer, you can't be happy that the government came and took a guy's hand sanitizer.
No, I think he should have been able to sell it at $80 to $100 a bottle.
100% free market, 100%.
Yeah,
and face the public shame.
I don't care. Like if it costs someone asked me, well, what are you supposed to do if he's charging $100 a bottle? I said, don't buy it.
That's right.
Like you don't need hand sanitizer. You have soap.
Fact.
You could steal someone else's hand sanitizer. That's not recommended. That's a joke.
Yeah. The amount of laws, Nick, getting thrown out over this hysteria is what troubles me. The mob troubles me more than the virus. Right.
It actually, I agree with that. And that's one of the problems I have with the government measures. And this is very out there. There's nothing concrete about this. There's no way to make it concrete. But the government response of shutting everything down contributes to the hysteria in some way. Yeah. And I mean, I'm guilty of it too, because I'm like, well, the government shut everything down. I guess I'm not flying to LA. And I was seconds before Dick mentioned that LA had shut down all gatherings in Los Angeles County over 50 people. No matter where they are, Los Angeles County over 50 people, it's illegal to have a gathering, which seems
is that legal? Put your lawyer hat on. Does that sound weird that people can't assemble and freely spread a virus if they want? Is it a public health thing of that level?
The way the court would
make an assessment.
The way the court will look at it likely is they'll ask the question if it's a reasonable, what we call time, place, and manner restriction on the First Amendment, because all of our First Amendment rights are subject to very few limited restrictions. And one of them is time, place, and manner restrictions, right? Yeah. You don't have a right to put any sign up on your property. If you live near a school, you can't have like a giant picture of a man having sex with a woman, right? Like you just can't do that, even though it's on your land and maybe you want to do that. They're going to be like, look, that's not reasonable to have that sort of picture up when a bunch of children.
At least a man having sex with a dog, we can say, even if you're okay with that, you might draw the line somewhere else.
But there would be that, and there actually are. Like we have frequent time, place, and manner restrictions on, say, the size of a political sign, right? Okay, you can have a political sign in your yard, but it can't be bigger than 2 feet by 3 feet. Because if you say it can be, suddenly somebody's got like a 45-foot giant sign in their lawn and it obstructs other people's views and stuff like that. So they say, okay, well, that's probably a reasonable time, place, and manner restriction. We don't like the manner of this speech and the placement of it. So we're going to restrict it to, you can have a sign, but it's got to be a reasonable size. So I think that's how they're going to say this is that these gatherings are unreasonable, and the restriction of no more than 50 people makes it a reasonable gathering in the place or in a time of an epidemic.
Fuzzy Creature is saying in the chat that right now in Virginia, it's 10 people.
Yeah. And in our town, it's 10 people as well. In my small town, which to my knowledge, our county has 0 reported corona cases, and
your town has 10 people.
We're down to, my town. 1,500, Doug.
Yeah, that's pretty tiny.
Massive. We got to go to the big 10,000 population city nearby. But no, there's no reported cases that I'm aware of in our area. But we are down to that no gatherings over 10 people, and it's kind of crazy to think about. But at the same time,
and remember what you're saying about the law when I was bringing up the porn thing with you is you have to be willing to bring guns to shut it down.
Yes. And
like that's what we're saying is if you bring in over 10 people or over 20 people, they're allowed to bring guns to break it up and force you to dissipate.
But like the guy in Kentucky, the real question, and I hope we don't ever find the answer, is if he leaves his house, he's a confirmed corona carrier. Do they shoot him or do they arrest him? And I think they shoot. And I think a lot of people are okay with it. And I have trouble with the arrest too, because like that cop is then exposing himself to coronavirus. If he takes him to a jail, he's exposing everybody to this virus. And if the virus is as bad as they're saying, they're willfully putting him into contact with people.
Yeah.
The answer is shoot. Okay, so now we have to extrapolate that to the next step. So with the enforced curfew in places like New York and New Jersey, it's a proposed curfew right now. But a week from now, it'll be enforced.
Yeah.
So you're walking out on the street at 8:30 p.m. for whatever. You want to go for a run. You're not planning on meeting anybody on earth. You're not going to go cough in some old guy's jock strap or anything like that. You're just going to go running down the road. Listen, my hobbies are my hobbies.
One point, that came quick.
You're just going to go
quick to the tongue.
You're just running down the road. You're going out for a 2-mile run. Cop sees you. Does he arrest you or does he shoot you? You don't have the coronavirus, but he doesn't know that.
Right.
What do we do?
You could be a carrier and you won't know it.
Exactly. So do we shoot him? And the answer for a lot of people is yes. And this is where I start to have problems with this stuff. And the government doing it, not recommending it, but making it enforced, making it a law, enhances and heightens the panic rather than distills it.
Yeah. So tell me the big philosophy, because I'm smelling a big philosophy from you.
I don't. That's probably a false odor.
I know this is speculation. I'm just saying speculate.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know what to do. And the big question...
Nick, Corona is not that bad.
Well, that's the big question I had on the Killstream is, how do we know we're supposed to do something? Like, we don't ask our government to fix every problem that exists. We don't do it. We ask them to assist in various ways, but this is a place where we're asking them to handhold us through a crisis. And I got a lot of heat on the stream for this, mainly because I don't know that people were getting my point or whatever, too nuanced or something. But I asked the guy, I said, how do we know when it's a crisis? What do you define as a crisis? Because I don't define 7,000 cases and 96 deaths as a crisis. I just don't do it.
It's not yet. But if you're on the wrong side of that, like I said, if 2 million people are dead next month, we're the bad guys.
Right. We are the biggest assholes on the planet.
But if nothing happened, the government says, see, all of our precautions of locking y'all down was justified.
Yeah. It's
Nick, the widest testing is in South Korea. In the world, the widest testing. They have the lowest death rate.
Yeah.
0.07%.
And we for some reason can't mobilize the testing. I don't know what it is.
Probably because all the test kits are from China. Yeah, really.
Well, and isn't this is part of the problem, right? Is that on one hand, our government is incompetent at doing the testing, but we expect them to be competent at locking down and containing the virus. And I just don't have that faith. I don't do it. I can't.
I agree with that principle, Nick. What happened to Americans make a fist and say, give me liberty or give me death? Where's that guy?
The death part is gone. People don't want the risk. They're scared of it. I get it, right? Like, I understand, but people, maybe we've had too many generations of not having risk and not having that sacrifice. I don't know. It sounds so easy.
Can you sum it up to we're soft?
It sounds easy to say that. And I don't think we are particularly soft. I just think that people they're not in the same mindset. And the way I'll summarize it is this. Dan Carlin has a great series called Hardcore History, great podcast. Yeah. And I was listening to his podcast about World War II, and he said World War II can never happen again. World War I, World War II, those types of wars can never happen again.
Sure.
Because you don't have the same mindset. The British will never run over a trench into a hail of machine gun fire. Well, the second group of them won't ever do it again. But in World War I and World War II, group after group after group would go up and just get mowed down. And then it was like, okay, you're next. And then the guys are like, okay, up over the wall, and they'd go. And if they didn't go, the officer would shoot them himself. Right. And then they would shoot one of them, and then they'd all go. That's where the Warhammer Commissar actually comes from, is because that guy existed. And so we don't have that tenacity. If you tell a bunch of Americans now, run over the wall to certain death, they're going to say, there's a better way. we're going to find a different way. Call in air support. Do something other than have us go die pointlessly. We're a different generation than we were. And that's not a value judgment on ours or their generations. So in the same way, I think we have traded enough of our liberty for security that we're not willing to have that risk anymore.
Right. And you lean toward liberty. I know you well.
I
lean
do,
toward liberty.
I do. And it can be pretty unpopular.
At what cost are you willing to continue to lean toward liberty, Nick, if it's at the cost of, I'm saying only old people are going to die from coronavirus, extremely old people?
Sure. I don't know. Because again, it's untested. You don't have a right to not be infected by a disease. That's not a right that you have a right to not have someone hit you. You have a right to not have a bullet run through your body. You have a right to, because these are clear touchings on you, a battery.
You have a right to shut down business if it saves 7,000 old people's lives.
And my question is,
every business in America.
My question is, will it? Will it save 7,000 old people's lives? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm saying hypothetically, if it saved because I'm looking at the dollar cost, like the stock market down by a third, destroying small and medium businesses.
Yeah,
to save 7,000 old people's lives. It's like if old people, and believe me, I'm 53. I'm closer to an old people than most of your audience.
Right.
But if it meant taking away liberty to save me, to save a bunch of 78-year-old men, it's like, you know what? If a 24-year-old and a 78-year-old man get in a 40-mile-an-hour car wreck, more 24-year-olds will live than 78-year-olds. That's just, whether it's a virus or a car wreck.
Yeah,
the body count for old people is higher. And at what point do you take away all your liberties?
And it's a hard question, and I don't think there's a right answer, right? Because at some point, the number is too damn high. But I don't know what that point is.
Well, we're erring on the side of destroying America's economy.
I think America's economy is more resilient, but I'm also relying in the faith that this will be relatively short-lived, and that's probably misplaced. But I think America weathers a month of this. I think America weathers maybe 2 months of this. You start getting into 3, 4, 5, 6 months. We start going into August, like Trump said it might be August. I really do question how many businesses come back from it. Because
Nick, if you come out of quarantine, and if we're all carriers with no symptoms and we're all passing it around to each other in our families with no symptoms, you remove the quarantine and we all go back out in public and it just spreads again. In August, September.
And I'm not a virologist, so I can't.
I know nothing of what I'm talking about.
Right. And that's where a lot of us are. And the unfortunate thing is the people who we are having direct, easy access to are government virologists, who I inherently distrust because they have policy motivations to consider as well. And so not knowing, that's what triggers part of my panic, right? Well, I don't know this. This is so far outside of my scope of knowledge. And I see a bunch of people on the internet who pretend to know about this. And then I see a bunch of people on the internet who might know about this. Some guy in my comments was like, I was a healthcare worker during cholera in Africa. And I'm like enthralled by this several paragraph comment. And I'm like, holy hell. Outside of this comment, your story is amazing and I want to hear more of it. But at the same time, that's just a guy on the internet. I don't get to qualify that at all. I don't know. And I'm not skilled enough to know the outcome. What I know is liberty and rights. That's my area of expertise. That's where my knowledge lies, and how the courts and how politically and legally we determine those things. And so when people ask me these political and legal questions and I give you political and legal answers, and then they're like, but this, and this, and I'm like, but that's not what I know. And so I can't talk about it. You know?
Okay. What about, we're going to err on the side of safety.
Look at this. Rights are overrated was written in the chat. And that's terrifying.
That's
It's anathema to me. I don't understand that.
We're going to remove some liberties to save some old people. Okay.
Okay.
What what scares you about that? What's the big deal?
I don't know that the old people were going to die. Right? Like, we know how many cases we have. We don't know how many cases we'll have tomorrow. And everybody is quick to say, well, look at Italy. Well, Italy has a significantly older population than the US. They also might, I don't know if this is true, they might have a culture like many other older cultures have of elder care in the home. Whereas in the US, we tend to outsource our elder care to retirement homes and other places.
We don't do multi-generational anything.
We really don't. I don't have
people in a home.
Like, I don't have grandparents living in my home, and it's really easy for the grandparents of my children to not visit us for 5 months if necessary,
right,
to preserve their health.
That's American individualism.
But in China, I mean, that's part of the Chinese culture. In Japan, your elders come home to live with eventually to live with the next generation, and you'll have 3-4 generations in a house. And Italy may be the same, and if that's the case, that's going to lead to a higher death rate. Also, Japan, South Korea, China, they have higher population densities than we do in the United States by an absolute mile. Same with even the UK, France, Germany. Our population density is laughable when you look at European population densities, sure, and even more laughable when you look at Asian population densities. So we're going to have different levels of contact going on. So I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm just spitballing, just some idiot on the internet with an opinion. What I do know is that we have protected rights throughout all sorts of crises in the United States, and we have not protected rights throughout all those crises as well. And my brain always goes back to Korematsu, which is World War II. We interned a bunch of Japanese people because they were Japanese Americans, not Japanese. Right. We interned Japanese. We took George Takei and his family. We threw him in a camp, and we sold their stupid almond farm to a white guy. And it was great. That's what we did. And then the Supreme Court was like, this is good. And that's terrifying that this is good is sometimes the answer. So that's what I know. I don't know what to do.
What's your prediction? Where do you see us in a year?
If this lasts a month to 2 months and the shutdown stops and the virus is mostly contained and we have some isolated one-off cases here and there, we get testing kits and we get maybe a vaccine or something. And a year from now, I think we go back to where we were a year ago.
Are we going to be effing brought to our knees by every little flu that comes along? Or will there be some backlash?
That's the interesting thing is we weren't brought to our knees by Ebola. Now, Ebola was contained very quickly, which is great. H1N1 was not contained at all, was really hyped and had just fizzled out. But H1N1 killed more people than this thing has killed so far.
That's right.
And we didn't do the same measures. So I don't know what makes H1N1 special versus this one. It was airborne transmitted as well, just like any other flu. So I don't know. We don't have a history of being brought to our knees by a virus. And that's maybe what's so shocking to me is this doesn't look different than than the bird flu, swine flu, SARS, epidemics that we've had in the past. Well, SARS didn't really make it here, thank goodness. But this doesn't look that much different to me as a layperson as those. So why are we reacting so differently is the question I have. But I don't think we're brought down by everything. There's something that people know or see in this virus that is different. I have to have faith in that because we're treating it so differently. So, and maybe I'm just the idiot for not seeing it.
I am way more cautious about this than I'm about any other flu, even though it's irrational from what I see.
Yeah.
It seems irrational.
It seems irrational, and if you err on the side of skepticism of government, then you're going to be skeptical of everything that's coming out.
Which I am. That's confirmation bias. It could be confirmation bias.
Could be. But that's part of the interesting thing about this, right? Is we get to have these debates about it. We get to ask these questions and work it out. I think that's the best part of America. In China, in South Korea, even in Italy, you don't get to have these conversations in the same way. You don't get to question the government's actions. And we at least get to, so I think it's my duty to do so.
It bugs me that China went straight to draconian governmental, just shutdown and lockdown, which really goes against our flavor of government.
Yeah, it's weird. Well, man, I got a couple super chats to read right now, and then a whole bunch to read after that.
Go.
So Sigurd Helixson Crypt Keeper says, listen, Nick, get yourself a battle-ready sword/weapon from Cult of Athena, and don't settle for an overrated katana. Find yourself a good two-handed or hand-and-a-half sword, or a warhammer, or a Viking axe. Oh, buddy, you're speaking my language already. None of this weeb trash. We're getting a warhammer, and we're smashing skulls. Nova Zero says, if you have liberty and you can't in the end trust people to pull together and do the right thing, then a visit from Corona-chan is downright merciful.
Brian out of our misery.
Brian Duick says, rights are overrated until your rights are the ones that are overrated. Then it's suddenly bloody murder. Yeah, that is how it goes. And I will be curious to see, you know, the interesting thing about depriving rights is right now we're talking in hypotheticals. Well, we've got one guy locked up in his house in Kentucky, and that's not the worst thing. If you lock me up in my house, I have lots to do. Okay, well, they lock everybody up in their houses with curfews and stuff like that. Well, okay, that's not the worst thing. What measure do they take that we don't expect? Because a couple days ago, I didn't expect to hear a guy in Kentucky being on 24/7 armed guard, right? I didn't expect that. So what rights do they take away 2 weeks from now that I'm not seeing coming? Do they shut down state borders? Do they shut down the trains that ship the coal to the power plants? Do they shut down the power plants? I don't know. How do we keep those workers on? What do we determine keeps them around?
And how do you mitigate an individual's liberty when I can just say, yeah, I have coronavirus and I'm going to go walk the streets? What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, well,
there is still individual free lunacy.
Yeah, and that's a big difference in the rights question is you don't have a right to not be infected with a flu or any other virus by someone else. It is not a battery in the same way. Now, something like HIV, where transmission involves a direct and conscious act, you have to act, you have to place your fluid in someone else for HIV to occur. So the intentionality of transmission is there. The negligent transmission is there. Saying that someone has a duty to not spread coronavirus, that's not a duty we've ever imposed on people in an airborne virus, which seems maybe counterintuitive because people are saying, oh, it's more dangerous that this is airborne, but it's also less traceable and the fault is less attributable because of that. And so again, I know it seems counterintuitive, but from a legal rights standard, it's much easier to find out who hit you or shot you than who coughed and happened to have the virus when you were around. Because it could have been any number of people, unless you only had contact. We can all be
carriers without knowing it. So now what? Am I going to go to jail for being an unknowing carrier and spreading it all around?
Yeah, well, I think they jail everyone before they do that, or jail them in their homes type thing. I think that's the reality. Brian Duick says, part of the reason this virus is worse is that it's fatal, but the mortality rate is lower, what makes it mathematically harder for the virus to remove its carriers from the population. It also makes quarantines harder. Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of that.
It's good. Mm-hmm.
Good point. Good point. Okay, let's go back to the other chats and then we'll wrap up the show. New York Gamers Federation says, to clarify on your response last night, I'm not from Syracuse University, but I am a native of Syracuse and have an inside contact at Syracuse University. So I've been keeping tags. And oh, hey, Doug, not sure what folks are bugging about, but you're cool in my book. God bless. CD-ROM 1019.
God bless you too. Thank you.
Alwu says, on Doug's puppet show, I asked someone to DUCK. They didn't get the reference. Do you know about that?
No, he brought up, it was on my show where I've, by the way, my show is imbecilic in that we only have puppets on my show right now.
Okay.
We had 6 puppets on my show tonight and he brought up the DUCK. secret word. And I go, I don't get it.
So there's this weird guy who was really mad at me for something. I don't even remember what he was mad for, but he was allegedly a former member of a major gang. Has since turned his life around, but spent time in prison and all that good stuff. He went on a tirade threatening me, my family, actually threatened to shoot up my entire neighborhood.
Unfortunate.
And he said, teach your kids to duck. That's DUCK.
He did work it out though. He did get the correct spelling. He got there
eventually. It was a real weird thing, because I'd had the guy on the show a couple times and we had good interactions, but I know what it was. A parody account that was not me on Twitter said something about him, and he thought it was me, and then said to the world, he said a bunch of stuff, and I sent him a text when I saw it, and I was like, hey dude, that wasn't me. Pretty lame of you.
Fake accounts need to be destroyed hard with fire.
Well, I'm not opposed to them. I don't necessarily like them all the time, but what do you do?
I'm using my free speech, Nick, to say that I hate them.
You can hate them all you want. You can hate them. I will make a principled coronavirus fueled stand for them.
Good man.
Night of Hopex says, stuff Sean said, let's be and act like China. Also, I hate China. Let's nuke them. The government is incompetent, but we don't need process, courts, or civil rights. If we're this fascist when young and emotional, no hope for this species. Bring on coronavirus. Yeah,
I'm with this guy, whoever he is. I agree.
Well, that was the funniest thing. He's like, you can't trust, his words, you can't trust a Chinaman ever to say the right thing. And then he's like, well, China's doing this and this and this, and we should do that. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But you're saying they're inherently lying about their results, but you want to follow them to emulate the results? Yeah. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, this is where process, it's why you got to lean on principle, Nick, and not preferred outcome.
Yeah.
Principle will guide your way out. Go ahead.
Night of Hopex also says, by the way, Nick, we got to get disciplined and start blocking each other when we're feuding. People can't be reasonable about personal vendettas on the internet, especially when there's a mob of bystanding shit stirrers who want more fighting and drama. Well, I don't think we're not feuding, are we? I hope not. I think that's a royal we. Yeah, the problem is sometimes the people who are feuding will block each other, and then a bunch of people will persist in trying to carry on that fight for whatever reason that they have. And that's
virtue signals to each other.
Billy FU says, I threaten my wife every day. She just tells me to fuck off. Glad you guys have reached a beautiful marital understanding. Sigma Zero says, long before anything going on now, I was a fan of the books. And before that, FIF album art. Cardboard is just beautiful. I'm burned out on most crowdfunding campaigns, but a TenNapel book is always going to be a no-brainer for me. Looking forward to BigFootBill too.
Very, very kind of you. My 5-Iron Frenzy people.
Oh yeah, that's the FIF, 5-Iron Frenzy. Mercenary X says, I may trust God's plan, but I don't trust human nature, and I'm not happy that guy's sanitizer is stolen from him. The government needs to be held to the same punishment we face for all the time. As for liberty or death, wait till liberal areas push laws. Yeah, actually, that's the question is, what are we going to see in it? It's easy to label the liberals as the ones who will be crazy authoritarian, but I won't limit it to that, because again, the Kentucky guy is a Republican, and authoritarian.
They're a Republican state.
Republican state and a Republican governor, I believe. So the question, is you never know where it's going to pop up, but that lack of liberty isn't always one-sided, right? It's not one party, and that's what's been surprising me a lot lately. It's not even a criticism. It's just when I was growing up, so in the formative years that stuck with me, rights and liberty were paramount importance compared to security. And now that's shifting, and it's something I'm not prepared for at all.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to mentally accept it. So it's neat. It's neat to watch. Transition is always interesting. Cokeboy53 says, love the debate earlier tonight, Nick. Much appreciate you bringing rationality to this growing hysteria. People are far too willing to give up freedom. Yeah, I agree. So Orpheus FTW says, I missed good old Doug. Me too. Vladimir M. Ivanovich says, Rackets was clearly in the right on the Killstream. Hey, thanks, buddy. Reek says, hey, Nick, been a minute. Bummed about Road Rage LA 2. Was looking forward to meeting you. Oh, well, I'll just drive to Minnesota, have some wooberries. Yeah, come visit me in Minnesota. That would be great. Also, I am planning on, if Dick does another show in LA, on making it. So that's in my list of things I want to do. Bones. Oh, wait. Some nobody says authoritarians loop back around to leftism. Bone Zone says Sean is a dimp shint. Some nobody says bigger threat is never getting your rights back. That's one of the big concerns I have. Joskby says, remember Camelot 331? He apparently recorded a conference call from GameStop. He probably should see a lawyer, but he's apparently wanting to put some recordings into a YouTube video. Very interesting. I do remember him. I know he was getting sued, so I don't know how that's going. Nick's Gay Short says, Nick, no coof on me, please. Oh, you're getting coofed. Guns Down in Hail says, don't be scared. Matt Jarbo will deliver your food. Not in my town. We don't have Uber Eats. So, you guys talk about how I'm out in the middle of nowhere and it's great. I called a place today because I didn't want to cook. I wanted to just stop in and pick up food. And when they got shut down for everything but takeout, they shut down the whole operation. And it's the only good restaurant around. Yep. It's one of the only good restaurants around. It's where I got wings. So
we went to Popeyes with the family. Popeyes.
I don't have a Popeyes.
We got us some Popeyes. It looked like it was empty, like a ghost town inside. They'd closed the dining room, but we got our Popeyes.
Yeah. It's, God, I wish I had a Popeyes. Spank Daddy says, speaking of taking guns away, when's the Second Amendment stream happening? That is my fault. I've completely dropped the ball on organizing it with a bunch of stuff that happened. I'm gonna see if I can get that going sometime soon. Plus, I think those people would have some interesting thoughts on Corona and Liberty as well.
Get Soder and Q on. Those guys are like,
they're good. The panel that I'm working on actually has a writer from the Washington Free Beacon, and a red flag protective order defense attorney from Florida. She's great and she is super pro. So she's defending these people who the government says can no longer have guns because of mean words or something. Snarkmark says, Doug, what's the proper video signal to play Earthworm Jim? Composite, RBG, what version? Sega CD, SNES? Let me know your thoughts. Also, how is Doug Langdale?
Sega CD will do you very well. So Sega Genesis and Nintendo SNES are appropriate versions. Avoid the PC and the Game Boy. If you've played those, you haven't played Earthworm Jim. Doug Langdale, who is the writer of all of the Earthworm Jim animated series, is doing great. He's over at DreamWorks. Very good guy. One of my favorite guys in the whole world. So he's doing well.
No one important says Ron Convo's win. They are the light of my days. Should be Saturday. I'm going to do a stream on Saturday because of Corona Chan. I am probably going to be streaming an extra day this week. So L1988 says, hey Nick, it was awesome meeting you and Lady Rackets a couple weeks ago at Kitchener Comic-Con before Corona Chan took over the world. Looking forward to more Ronversations. Hey, can't wait. Can't wait. Ishailson says, Ron in deposition, quote, if a bunch of people said things about me, I wouldn't do anything. This video with those twins suggests otherwise. Oh, yeah. It's amazing. Guys, and that's something to remember. These people hate being reminded that there are thousands of people out there that don't like them because they are fragile. And I've talked to voice actors and other people in that industry, and I do not have that many people that hate me, maybe 100, maybe 200. And they're like, how do you deal with that? I'm like, well, I just don't really care. And for every one of them that hates me, there's 100 people that like me. So I'm really not that big of a deal. They cannot handle being reminded that people don't like them. It is the antidote to their poison. Mm-hmm. So next. Wavy Gravy says, how's that frog book doing, Phony Christian? I don't know if he's talking to me or you.
He's talking to me.
You? Are you a phony Christian?
That's what they say.
Oh, I thought I actually was one because I'm bad at it.
Every real Christian knows they're a phony Christian. So
we talked about this earlier, though. The Frog Book is doing very well.
Absolutely,
fantastic.
it is. Absolutely, it is.
And shockingly, I don't know if you caught this, but despite Doug and Ethan's differences, Doug wishes nothing but success on his book.
100%.
And that's a way to handle these things. Is we can wish success on people we disagree with and just have disagreements. So, Carol Begonsky, thank you for joining the channel. I really appreciate it. No One Important says, I wasn't here before all this, so sorry if this is already talked about. What are your thoughts on the ridiculous new comic, New Warrior? I think Doug mentioned that it was garbage.
Yeah.
In so many words, I have not seen anything about it because I don't care. Some nobody says, Doug, listen to Wayne June read some Lovecraft too. Wavy Gravy says, how much I gotta pay you to actually read my insult to this human garbage on your stream? I'll go up to double the price of a trash Doug book, no more. I could have fleeced this guy for way more money. Damn it.
Get in there.
Here's how my streams work. If it's a $20 higher chat, I will interrupt the stream and read the chat. If it's not, I will typically wait till the end of the stream unless there's an appropriate lull in the conversation. But typically, if you want something read right away in the flow, it's $20 or more, and that's just to manage the amount of interruptions I was getting with another system. So I do read every single thing you write, though. So if you're content waiting until the end, you can give as little as $2.
We're getting through them now.
James Voorhees says, love Doug. What are his thoughts on Cyberfrog RP? I don't know if he means role playing because I asked him in the
Planet.
Oh, Wrecked Planet.
It's the new Cyberfrog 2 by Ethan Van Sciver.
I forgot it was called Wrecked Planet.
I'm looking at that campaign. I'm impressed. I think it's doing great. I'm not, Ethan and I don't see eye to eye. That's no secret. I, in general, do not slag him in public. I don't think that's not my place. So
right, and I think that's the appropriate thing. Is creators just create, and hopefully everybody kind of follows suit on that. Some nobody says it's also insanely conformist and legally oppressive. I don't know if that applies to Cyberfrog. That seems a little ridiculous. No, I'm just kidding. That's obviously not. That has nothing to do with the Cyberfrog book. It just happens to be the next chat. Leo Breaker 49 says, morning, you two. Hate to say this, Doug, but there's some woke folks over there now talking about Japan. They even got an anime made, which failed hilariously.
Oh, that's good. Good news. Anytime anything woke internationally gets failed, that's an international victory for us.
Yes. Gillian Seed says, all for a bad flu. Some nobody says cultofathena.com or cultofathena.com. If you guys want real swords, I kind of do. Romeo Garbo says, I bought a full tang, fully sharpened katana on Amazon. It even came with a stand. Very cool. Ooh. Emery Kalame says, Nick, get a saber. Katanas are rule sheet. Phoenix Lord Osterman says, glad to see you on stream tonight, Doug. Can't wait for BigFootBill 2. First on was one of the best books out of CG.
Thank you so much.
Rhinosaurus Rex says, a good YouTuber. Maybe you could have him on and talk at some point is Dr. Mike. He's been keeping up and debunking a lot of myths about Corona. Maybe. SM Scorks 89 says NBA got something because Ron Toye stood him up. That's true. He was supposed to have Ron on the stream and Ron completely forgot he existed. I think Ron actually was scared and just shit on NBA, which was a lame thing to do to NBA. But now he promised to go on this guy's show and then is like, oh no, I'm at dinner. It's like, you promised to be on a show. Get on the fucking show.
You knew the show was coming before dinner. It's not an excuse.
Yeah, that was even, NBA and I have had our words. That's a lame thing that Ron did to him because, well, Ron's a liar and a pile of garbage. So Marius Van says, hey, Nick, hey, Doug, not into BigFootBill, but looking forward to the next Worm book. So fair enough.
Earthworm Jim 2 will come out later this year, and I just finished the script on it, working hard on it. I get it that there's different tastes among people. Doing my best on both.
And then Sakaki Onsai says, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear is a Democrat, Nick. Yeet, is he really?
Well, now I know.
I thought he was a Republican. Did I get that wrong?
Could be.
Oh no, he's a Democrat. Oh my God, kill me.
Okay, now we know.
Sorry, I did not mean to besmirch the Republican Party in Kentucky.
Guilty, automatically wrong in my view, automatically dismissed. My confirmation bias is kicking in. Automatically wrong. Everything we've said about it.
Yeah, it's terrible. Hey, you know I have a second channel that I'm starting? Yeah, I started a second. I haven't put any content up on it. Soon I'm going to have it. And literally what I'm going to do on the second channel is it's not law related at all. It's all just exploration of various geek culture, social commentary, stuff like that. It's my free form play channel as opposed to
what's it called so I can sub.
It's just Rekieta Media. Really simple.
Oh, dude, it'll be bigger. It'll be bigger in a month.
So what I'm going to do is go through these things, like a walkthrough of these books and stuff like that.
Look at that beautiful book. Hold that up to the camera.
Well,
That's beautiful.
This isn't even a book.
That's a box.
This is a box.
I see the red foil though.
Oh yeah, and the book's inside here. It sticks in red on the pages.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So
dude, that is so expensive.
So I buy all of these like an idiot because it's the one thing I actually collect. And I figure there's probably a lot of people that don't collect that stuff and might like to see just what comes in the collector's kits and you know, like an unboxing, not an unboxing because they're all unboxed, but just a walk through the things. Plus I'll be doing like video game stuff or whatever, just fun stuff. No legal stuff at all on there. So if you guys like,
you're gonna separate the law over on this side and the pop media stuff over on that side.
Yeah, and it'll be fun. So good times.
Sounds great.
So, all right. We got Bad Dragonite is the last one. Says everyone could potentially punch you. Better lock them all up. Also, Nick, get a good machete. More practical. Well, if you think I don't have a couple good machetes already. I just got to get one out I just got to get a good sword for the last boss.
Mounted to the bottom of your chair is the machete.
Yeah. I had to buy some machetes. My wife and I were exploring our land because we live on about 8 acres, but we hadn't explored most of it. There's some wetland that separates dry land, so to speak. And so this fall, when the water was down a lot, we bought some waders and some machetes and went out across the wetland over into the other wooded areas. And so we were chopping our way through. It was great. Lots of fun. Felt very primal.
Surveying your land. I like that.
Well, we have a deer stand on the land. So that was part of it is, getting to that and all sorts of fun stuff. So it was good. But all right, guys. Well, Doug's book, BigFootBill 2, is available on Indiegogo. You can find that in the description of the stream if you want.
Your audience is already coming in, and I got to thank you guys. You're a big help. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Thank you guys for supporting.
You guys know
Doug.
I'll work hard for you.
And yeah, is there anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, thanks for having me on, man. Anytime, anywhere. Come back on my show.
Absolutely. You just keep sending me stream links while I'm like right in the middle of something. It's like,
or it's right before you wake up. But
yeah, if you send me a stream link at 9 a.m., there's no chance.
My new thing, I'm trying to get 6 slots filled with puppets. I just want, if you watch my channel, it's almost all puppets now.
It sounds horrifying. Like,
so good, dude. It's so bad. It's so good.
Look at this. Can I put a stick on the West Nile virus that I have here?
Put a stick on that thing and get on the show, Mother Scratch.
He'll talk like this. Don't worry, it's fine.
Dude, get in. It'd be a blast.
Maybe. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. I can't do the outro because I have a guest, and we will see you later. Yes, I will be on Twitch in a little bit. So you can come over there and we'll be playing a little more Sekiro, which is my masochistic endeavor. And we'll see you then. Thanks, Doug, for coming on. Don't leave. I'll say goodbye to you in private, like we said.
Yes, brother. Yes, brother.
But all right, guys, you guys have a good night. Peace. Peace.
Oh.